sport of golf, the date marks the start of an era. June 18th, 1960, the day Arnold Palmer first mounted his charge. To be sure, he had won the Masters earlier in the spring, but today would be like none other. It didn't seem so with one round left to play. The third round was played in the morning, and when it was over, the board showed Mike Souchak leading the pack. The names behind him were impressive. Boros and Finsterwald, young Nicklaus and Hogan, the legend, Gary Player, Sam Snead, Dutch Harrison, the Arkansas Traveler, and Bill Casper. Arnold Palmer was 15th, 7 shots behind. Between rounds, Palmer went to the locker room, ordered a hamburger, and sat with his friend Bob Drum, a Pittsburgh golf writer. Palmer wondered aloud, "What do you think a 65 would do this afternoon?" Drum, a huge, gruff man, shot back what seemed to be the truth. "It would do nothing for you, Arnold. You blew it this morning." With that comment, Bob Drum flicked the switch that turned on one of sport's most famous sources of power, the electric charge of Arnold Palmer. The hamburger was left half-eaten as Arnold, stung by Drum's words, got up and began to walk. He only had a few minutes left before his tee-off time, but he decided to use them on the practice tee. The crowd waiting for him didn't know then that they were the first recruits of an army that would follow its leader for almost 2 decades. They were just a crowd watching a man they liked hit about 10 practice shots. But as he hit, he thought, Drum's words still in his mind. Then to the first tee, with the determination of a general, he had made a command decision to try and drive the green of the par 4 hole. He did exactly that and made an easy birdie. Now the adrenaline flowed as Palmer charged. He birdied 6 of the first 7 holes, played the front 9 in 30 strokes. The crowd with him grew as word was passed around the course. But remember, he had trailed by 7 and had 14 men to pass. One was Ben Hogan, and another was the 20-year-old amateur from Ohio, Jack Nicklaus. One by one, they faded. And when Palmer made this putt on the final hole and threw the visor to his troops, he had shot 65 and taken his first U.S. Open championship by 2 shots over Nicklaus the Kid. The charge had been born at Cherry Hills that June day in 1960. Arnie's Army was on the march.
Now we return to Cherry Hills on a June day in 1978 with a hot, dry sun shining and a brisk wind blowing on the course at the foot of the Rockies for the final round of this year's Open. Again, the leaders include the famous names of the game. Arnold Palmer himself didn't make the cut. But is there perhaps a new Palmer somewhere in the field, trailing the front runners, poised to make his charge? ABC Sports presents a national championship conducted by the United States Golf Association. Today from the Cherry Hills Country Club at Englewood, Colorado, it's the final round of the 78th United States Open Golf Championship. This ABC Sports exclusive is brought to you by Lincoln Mercury. Nobody has more kinds of cars for more kinds of people, including the new Mercury Zephyr Z7, styled to put a charge in your life. By Wilson, makers of the new Reflex, the only irons in golf that flex. By Crum and Forster Insurance Companies, working through more than 9,000 independent insurance agents and brokers, helping insure the American way of life. And by Anheuser-Busch Incorporated, St. Louis, brewers of Michelob beer. Weekends were made for Michelob. Is there somebody trailing the field? There may well be, because the action is already underway. The leaders have not as yet teed off, however. We're going to see all 18 holes again, of course. Andy North by 1 over Gary Player, by 3 over J.C. Snead and Dave Stockton, by 4 over Andy Bean and Johnny Miller on the comeback trail after a 78 the first day. Then young Ballesteros of Spain, the great Jack Nicklaus, Tom Kite of Texas, Bill Kratzert of Fort Wayne, Indiana. Tom Watson, making a charge, has birdied the first 3 holes. Could he be the Palmer of 1978? And Victor Regalado of Mexico. These, then, are the men on the leaderboard as we begin our coverage of the final day of the U.S. Open. Once again, as we said, 18 full holes of coverage on the leaders. I'm Jim McKay. This is Dave Marr. Dave, the wind is up. They say it's 15 to 25 now. Could gust to 40 later on. has to be a factor, right?
Well, there's no question, Jim, that it is a factor. And when you take a good golf course and you have it set up by the United States Golf Association and you get a combination of things, the wind, of course, will drive the scores much higher than any sort of rain might. And if the U.S. Open is also a test of a man's character.
Here's a man with character.
That's
Excuse
right.
me,
He's
Dave.
birdied, okay.
Putting for a birdie on 5. Tom Watson. This is live coverage. He birdied the first hole, the second hole, and the third hole, much as Arnold Palmer did 18 years ago in the final round. Actually, Palmer had trailed by 7. Tom Watson, when the day began, trailed by 8.
Well, if I remember that day, we didn't have quite the wind or as tough a golf course as they have here now. They've made a few changes, but the wind and the golf course and the prize of winning the U.S. Open, all that is a test of a man's character, and that's as much of what this tournament is about as anything.
Well, representing the USGA on our commentary team this year is Frank Hannigan, assistant director of that association. There have been very few complaints about the golf course this year. Excuse me, right now I think Johnny Miller. We have Johnny Miller on the golf course. We'll come back, Frank. This is Johnny Miller hitting his second shot. Miller, who had 78 on opening day, then 69 and 68 yesterday, the lowest round of the tournament by anybody. And this is a man who's only won $8,500 so far this year, 116th on the money list. Can you believe Johnny Miller down there?
But, Jim, he's back playing very well again.
He is playing with young Seve Ballesteros, the 21-year-old Spaniard, also very much a contender here now. 2 years ago, they played together in the British Open. Miller finished first, and Ballesteros, at age 19, finished second. Boy, what a future, huh?
What a future is right, and can he hit it a long way? He evidently went for 17 yesterday. 2 drivers he tried to knock on that green against the wind.
Watson parred 5, so he's still 3 under for the day, 3 over for the tournament. Ballesteros is at 2 over for the tournament as he starts his round today. He's on the first hole, remember. Another fine shot.
Great shot.
The first hole playing dead downwind today. Might be just a little bit from your left, but almost straight downwind. So there they are, Miller and Ballesteros on the first hole. We were talking to Frank Hannigan of the USGA. I was starting to say there have been very few complaints about the golf course or anything else this year. The only thing that some people have said is about the changes in the course. For example, they said, isn't it a shame that nobody can at least try to drive the first green as Arnold Palmer did 18 years ago because the tee has been moved and you can't do it anymore. And some of the other changes, they say maybe a great golf course should always be the way it was. What do you think about that?
Well, I think there's a great case to be made for tradition and nostalgia in golf. There's also a very good case to be made for making better golf holes. A great golf course is not something that's instantly made. There's an evolutionary process in every case, including Cherry Hills and even the old course at St. Andrews, which after all was a 14-hole golf course at one time.
They added 4 holes. That's a pretty big change, huh?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, well, we're going to be hearing from Frank as the afternoon goes along. When rulings come up particularly, well, we certainly hope he'll also add some of the lore and tradition of the game. Jack Nicklaus started the day 3 over. He birdied the first hole. He's now 2 over. He's 4 shots out of the lead. Remember, Andy North has not started yet at 2 under. Neither has Gary Player at 1 under.
It's an iron off the tee because you have a very tiny little area there to put the ball in. Then you just have a wedge. It sounds like an easy shot, Jim, but the third green is very hard, and you're going to be a little bit downwind, so it's going to be tough to hold it there.
Apparently, Watson's tried to drive this green today. He ended up in the rough just in front of that bunker.
Well, that might be the move today, to get as close as you can to the green, simply because of where the flag is, just over that trap, and that's downhill from that trap to where the flag is, and very little chance to hold it there.
Okay, back again to John Miller and Seve Ballesteros. In his country, it would be pronounced Ballesteros, but I understand in an effort to make it easier for his American friends, he says, call me Ballesteros. No big thing. This for a birdie on the first hole. From Santander, Spain, comes this young man
He's got a great attitude, Jim. He goes along, and he maybe not the straightest driver that you'll ever see. He's very long, and obviously when you're very long, that does tend to make you a little bit crooked, but he does not seem to sulk about his bad shots. He goes right on and plays, which is exceptional when you think he's just 21.
He's planning, by the way, to join the U.S. Tour next January. Here's Tom Watson now on the 6th tee. He birdied the first 3, almost birdied 4, parred 5, is on the 6th tee, par 3 hole. What a beautiful swing that man has.
I really enjoy watching Tom Watson swing at a golf ball.
So do I. Well, it sounded like a groan.
Yeah.
Yeah. He may well have bunkered it. There's a ball on the green.
I don't believe that's it, though.
No, I don't think so.
It seemed to be a little left.
It is
there.
definitely in the bunker. Okay, that's the word on Watson. The first ill news of him so far today. So,
Johnny Miller for a birdie.
Right?
Did he hit it?
Not quite.
It's a little uphill putting that way. Not quite as quick as Ballesteros.
How much effect is the grain having when they're cut this short?
Well, it's not grain, I would say, is minimal, if there is any here, Jim. When we played the other day, I didn't notice any grain, and they hadn't been cut to tournament length at that point.
This may sound silly, but how about upwind and downwind when it's going 35 miles an hour? Ballesteros was coming downwind with his putt, Miller was upwind.
It can affect you some. I feel, though, that it affects you more as far as keeping your body and your head still when you're trying to putt when it's gusty.
Okay, we'll be right back. It's all live from Sherry Hills. We're back again at the 78th United States Open, waiting for the leaders to tee off, Andy North and Gary Player. Once again, we will be covering all 18 holes. Assisting us in covering them will be a good friend and colleague from overseas, Peter Alliss, many-time member of the British Ryder Cup team. And by the way, once upon a time, Dave, if he could have parred in from 13 in the British Open, he would have shot a 63. Okay, Peter.
Well, here we are, and what a marvelous day this promises to be. Lots of drama, lots of excitement to come. This is Jack Nicklaus, second shot, the third hole. Oh, marvelous shot. Judged to perfection, just landed over the bunker, very close to the hole, and it was a similar sort of shot yesterday at the 13th hole that caused Jack so much pain and aggravation. On to the 5th. Lee Trevino, many people's pre-tournament favourite. This for an eagle 3. Leaves the flagstick in. It's running nicely. Too nicely. Too nicely. There you get some idea of the pace coming down the hill of these greens. The course in immaculate condition. My heartiest congratulations to the head greenkeeper and all his staff. They really have done a superb job. Everything is delightful to behold. Well, Tom Watson, who's made an electrifying start, out of the bunker at the par 3/6, and, well, we didn't see the lie, but that was not a Watson-like shot at all. And he's a long, long way past. Now Dave Stockton on the first fairway, second shot. Stockton just 1 over par, and very nicely done indeed. Stockton, of course, former PGA champion, a winner, a good winner on very good golf courses. Hardened competitor, and used that Lee Trevino hold that putt. And there's, it in fact was a par for Lee Trevino at the 5th. Huge galleries again, enjoying the sunshine, as Dave Mars already said. Wind much stronger today, and if it gets up as the hours go by, it's going to prove very testing indeed. There's a view from our camera behind the second fairway. Looking back, just the edge of the fairway, Miller and Ballesteros. And what a combination these two are. I was privileged to see them playing together in 1976 at Royal Birkdale British Open Championship, which Miller won. He's just tucked by those trees. I don't know whether they probably won't interfere with his shot at all. Bill Fleming is there. Bill, how's it looking?
Peter, I'm going to have to wait just a second, but I think he caught the high rough just short, about 10 yards from the green. This wind, as you know, is really right into their faces here. for Ballesteros to be that far out of in front of Johnny Miller is just unbelievable.
We're back to Nicklaus at the third. This for a 3. Nice smooth. What a start from Jack. 3-4-3. 2 birdies in the opening 3 holes. Tom Watson birdied the first 3 holes, but then was in a spot of trouble up ahead. But what a start. What a day this promises to be.
Madison, Wisconsin.
On the first tee,
Player has the honor.
Gary Player and Andy North.
Play away, please.
Watson dropped a stroke at the 6th. Saw him come out of the bunker, not near, missed the putt. So he's cooling off a little bit. But here's a man small in stature, but a giant in the game. Gary Player, out with the trusty 1-iron. He used it many, many times yesterday with great success.
There it is.
And there it is indeed. Onto the cut portion, where you need to be as often as you can here at Cherry Hills. Now this young man who played a few wayward shots yesterday, but my word, what a marvellous temperament he appears to have. Kept it going well, had perhaps 1 or 2 slices of good fortune. But that's what happens in golf. You get enough bad ones. Enormous arc, tremendous swish, and down the fairway it goes in position A. Now to the 4th tee. Nicklaus, you can see with an iron just playing to the corner, wind right to left. Anything down the left side of the fairway will be blocked out by the trees. And that might be far enough to allow him to see everything that he wishes to, but anything left of that is bound for trouble. We're going to leave you for a couple of minutes, but we'll be back with more golf.
Again, we're back live at the United States Open. Time to bring in another of our ABC commentators, a man who calls a mean game of football and baseball, but who also hits a golf ball about twice as far as I do. Keith Jackson. All right, Keith.
Hit it sideways a lot, too, Jim. All right, we settle down here a day for a few rocks in your pocket as the wind continues to grow in velocity, and Andy North just teeing off is leading Gary Player by 1. They're playing the very first hole. Gary Player going off with his trusty 1-iron. So did Andy North, and it's going to be, I think, a day of jousting with the 1-iron. Probably will be the most used club about. Severiano Ballesteros on the 2nd hole, having a putt slide by. Will have this tap in for his par on the 2nd hole, and Seve stays at level as he begins the day, with Tom Watson having made the biggest noise, but then after birdieing the first 3, he ran into bogey at 6, and Jack Nicklaus has birdied 2 out of the first 3. Looking back down the fairway, you see the diminutive South African all in black with his white hat. Not a particularly long hole, but it is exacting. Accuracy is demanded, 399 yards.
This is going to have to get up, Keith.
Bob Rosberg out on the fairway, commenting on the shot, and as you saw, it was quite short. Bob Rosberg himself traveled this particular golf course in competition in 1960, along with David Marr. Other reporters from out on the fairway today will be Bill Fleming, traveling with Johnny Miller and Seve Ballesteros, Dow Finsterwall with J.C. Snead and Stockton, Dave Stockton. Jack Nicklaus on the 4th hole, hacking it out of the rough. And suddenly, Jack Nicklaus, who had started off in blazing fashion, runs into trouble. Now here is Andy North's shot on the 1st hole.
It's the same place as Players, short right, but takes a big bounce. Caught it a little thin, Keith, and he really didn't like it very well. It was sort of the same kind of shot he hit yesterday.
So Andy North is playing the very first hole in the final round of the 78th U.S. Open, but he has already made more noise here with successive birdies on the 18th, a 480-yard monster that comes uphill. This was the 18th hole picture on Friday, the end of the second round with this long putt. And at that particular point, Andy North had not really become a major story in this U.S. Open, but as that putt slid in the side door and the crowd roared and Andy exulted, suddenly there he was at -2 and the leader with his second round of 70. And perhaps it was yesterday that we saw some of the real steel in this young man out of Madison, Wisconsin, as he played head-to-head with one of the great ones in the game, Jack Nicklaus, and with this long stroke, knowing full well Gary Player had already birdied. Andy North rammed his in from about 45 feet, and he had another 70, and he was 2 under and still the leader. And then he talked quietly with our colleague Bill Fleming.
Well, Andy, here you are going into the final round, and you're leading the United States Open Golf Championship. Did you believe that could happen?
Well, thank you, Bill. You know, you always hoped that you could. I played rather poorly today and was very fortunate. I made a couple putts when I needed it. The last one on the last hole was really super. So, you know, hopefully maybe I got my worst round out of the way and I come back tomorrow and play a good solid round of golf and see what happens.
Now let me ask you this. What would be your strategy going into that final 18 holes? Can you play defensively and win this U.S. Open, or do you have to be aggressive out here?
Well, you've got to try to stay aggressive but still play smart. You know, put the ball in the fairway and put it on the green. I think, you know, the guy that puts it in the fairway the most times tomorrow will probably win the tournament. I didn't do that too often today, so I'm going to have to go hit some balls.
Would that be the first thing on the agenda, and then what about tonight?
Well, just, you know, go home and eat and get a good night's sleep and come out and try to do what I can do tomorrow.
Okay, Andy, the best of luck.
Thanks a lot.
Some comments from young Andy North as we now look at him live on the first green in the final round. Those comments from yesterday. And searching through the minds of the people about the premises, we can find no one who can remember anyone who has ever birdied 18 on successive days. He is just off, as Chichi Rodriguez might say, the dance floor here. So he will not gamble with his putter. He will chip it. Skids it onto the putting surface. Very nicely. He will have that short putt remaining for a beginning par in the final round. Jack Nicklaus, meantime, on the 4th hole, having driven in the rough, rolled it across the green on his second shot as he hacked it out, and you can see the velocity of the wind, and there's another very bad shot by Jack Nicklaus. It goes all the way across the green, and he is still in the long grass. My goodness, is 4 going to be like 13 was yesterday for Jack? It was on 13, a relatively simple and short par 4, where he took 7 and seriously damaged any hopes he had for winning one more major championship. But then as he started today, birdieing 2 of the first 3 holes, the word spread, and the crowd, as you can see, massive. No gate sale of tickets yesterday, nor today, completely sold out. Gary Player, birdie putt, first hole. 1 off the lead. Gary's putt slides by a yard, and Tom Watson has notched another birdie on the 7th hole, so he was not shaken by his misfortune on the 6th. He has come right back to make birdie. That's 4 birdies and 1 bogey for Watson. And Jack Nicklaus again is very long. My goodness. That is Jack Nicklaus' 4th shot. He could very well make double bogey on the 4th hole. And the 4th hole, again, is not that demanding, but the thing that got Jack in trouble on the 4th was his tee shot, which went into the left rough. He had, obviously, a very difficult shot. He hacked it out, and he has been hacking at it since. It's only 429 and downwind. Gary Player now. This is for par at 1. He's got it. So he remains at 1 under for this tournament, playing with Andy North, who is the leader. And if Andy ever had any ideas of being baptized into the game, and I mean really dunked, yesterday with Nicklaus and today with Player and on top of the leaderboard in the U.S. Open. And he's got his 4. Always good to get that first one out of the way, isn't it, Dave Marr?
Yeah, when you start off easy like that, he didn't have any sort of 3-4 footer that's a little nervous. It's a great chip he played there.
Sort of a big whew as he goes on to 2. Meantime, back to Jack Nicklaus out on 4. He lies 4 on a par 4 hole, and he's got that little bit of work left. If he misses it, it suddenly gets burdensome. Tough to take double bogey on the 4th hole when you know just around the corner is a hole where you might very well make birdie, the 5th, which is a par 5. It looks to be a good 15 feet. Jack Nicklaus has made 6 on the 4th hole. And so that takes care of his 2 birdies. He is back to level for the day and +3 for the tournament. On the 2nd tee now for Gary Player and Andy North. Andy is on the tee. Gary Player on the left side of the fairway. North has a wood in his hand.
And it's perfect. It's beautiful drive.
Oh.
Just in the left-hand rough, Keith, but all right. It's he really hit it a long ways, which today is a big thing on this hole, because it is playing right into the teeth of the wind.
I was just about to ask that question, Mr. Rosberg, as to how the wind might have affected it, because he obviously, from your reaction, had started in the center, and the wind moved it some. But the lie seems all right since we could see it. It's the long and short of it, striding down the 2nd fairway. Gary Player at age 42, so well-traveled, champion in so many countries. Andy North at age 28. He's won once the 1977 Westchester Classic. But he may be a lot bigger news before this Sunday is dawn. And now let's look at Johnny Miller. On the 3rd fairway, his 2nd shot. Happened just a few moments ago, as you watch on videotape. And Johnny not pleased, and good reason for it. He is now behind the bunker, and you're looking at him live as he tries to flip it up with a lot of spin on it and hold it, and he can't get it to bite for him, and it goes well by. So he lies 3 and a considerable distance from the hole on the 3rd hole. Discipline is so important in so many different ways in this game, where you're really jousting only with yourself, contesting yourself, but when the wind blows, it adds a factor that you really can't put a measurement on. It just becomes more difficult in all ways. Ballesteros coming out of the sand on the 3rd hole. This will be his 3rd shot. Seve he should be able to make par from there all right. 8th tee, Tom Watson, who's had a blazing beginning, absorbed bogey without being shaken by it. And it looks as if he is on the putting surface all right. 5 tee now. Jack Nicklaus, par 5, 543 yards, and he could certainly get home here because the wind at his back. He looked like he went with the long club, and he has driven it very long. You must be careful on this hole. It does bend a little bit dogleg right, so you need to cut that tee ball ever so slightly and get it up into the wind, and it will really go. So Nicklaus is in position to try to make it home in 2 and pick up another stroke. having just double bogeyed the 4th hole. Back onto the second fairway for Gary Player and Andy North, and Gary will hit first. He, as you can see, standing there with his caddy Rabbit, is on the short grass. Club selection difficult from the beginning because you're a mile high in the Denver, Colorado area. This golf course located actually in the city of Inglewood. But the altitude makes club selection quite difficult until you get the hang of it. But then you add the wind to it, and it makes it quite a bit more difficult. Sometimes confounding. See?
Kicking up, Keith.
All right, he's got the stick he wants. Bob Rosberg will watch it for us.
Good-looking shot. It's going to be a little left, but I believe it's going to catch the green. Right on the front edge, Keith. Long ways from the hole.
Looks like it might be a little soft down in front of some of the greens today, doesn't it? But that'll change as the wind wears on and the sun shines brightly. Now Andy North's second shot. He comes out of the short rough, the first cut rough.
One thing you have to watch about this shot, Keith, he's standing above the ball, and somebody as tall as Andy, it's a little tough to get down to it. You have to really worry about losing this shot to the right, and with a pin cut this close to the right-hand edge of the green, he's going to have to play it back out to the middle of the green.
Johnny Miller has made bogey on the second hole. Ballesteros got his par. North shots on his
way right and short. Into the bunker.
He's in the bunker, so Miller bogeys the third, Ballesteros pars the third, and behind them on the second hole, the leader, Andy North, has run into some trouble. Gary Player is a long distance away for his third shot on the putting green, but right now Andy North has some problems to consider. But Andy North is still your leader, and right now, let us take this time and spend it with Jim McKay.
Here we are, Jack Nicklaus, second shot on the 5th hole, a par 5. Can he get there in 2? He's downwind all the way. Yes, sir. So having just double bogeyed the last hole, he'd sure like to get that back. He'll have that eagle attempt. Now we're on the second green with Andy North and Gary Player. Remember, North leads by 1 over Player, by 3 over J.C. Snead, by 4 over Dave Stockton, by 5 over Johnny Miller, Jack Nicklaus, and Ballesteros, and Tom Kite, and Tom Watson. You can see they're all still in it.
Tell you, if anyone can get to 284, that would be some score to shoot here today.
You know it.
This week.
Long birdie attempt by Gary Player. Ooh, he's left a big one. His caddy, the world-renowned Albert Rabbit Dyer. There's Gary Player. While we were away, this was Andy North in the bunker, remember? As Bob Rosberg had kind of called it ahead of time, he left it in that bunker after a good tee shot, then hit this one. Good bunker shot. He couldn't keep it much closer than that, could he?
No, he's a little downwind and downhill there. I thought he played a very good shot, especially under the circumstances.
Temperature here today, 75 degrees. The sun is shining outside Denver. The ball's still flying 5 to 7% further than it would at sea level, and the wind is up 15 to 25 miles an hour. They say later we may get gusts up to 40. Well, now that should make it interesting.
Oh, well, the fairways are narrow enough as it is, and even though the players are going off a lot of the tees with irons, still hard to hit these fairways.
Andy North, the leader.
Tom Watson made a par at 8, so he's really moved into a good position.
Guess what's happening in women's golf today? Tell you in a minute. Oh, look at that. What a 4. Par for Andy North. Up in Rochester, New York, Nancy Lopez started the day 3 shots behind Jane Blaylock, shot 32 in the front, and has taken the lead.
That is a very remarkable young lady, and she is a delightful person, Jim.
She certainly is. If she wins this tournament today, she breaks the all-time rookie record for men or anybody, of Jerry Pate. Now, back to this. The U.S. Open. Gary Player needing it for a par to stay one shot behind the leader, Andy North, who's in the hole.
And this puts the pressure right back on Gary. It looked like after they both hit their second shots, that Gary might have a little advantage, but it's now advantage North. Missed it.
Oh, boy, so I'm walk after that immediately, and now he has another one. After those early birdies we saw when we first came on the air, suddenly it's U.S. Open time again, it looks like, Dave. Remember that. Go ahead.
This shows you the golf course is so great. You just can't afford to make any mistakes, mental or physical.
Gary Player for the bogey 5. Okay, he's done it. And that drops him back to even par. Andy North now has a 2-shot lead. That's what he had when yesterday began, and he's back to it again. Stockton on the left, Dave Stockton for a par. It keeps him still at +2. He's in 4th place at the moment. Jack Nicklaus with the eagle attempt on the long 5th hole. Playing, once again, we'll tell you, straight downwind today. So everybody will have their shot at trying to make that green in 2.
Jim, this putt is very fast going down this hill. And in order to get back in, as you said a moment ago, he's got to make a birdie. You see J.C. Snead on the right.
That's for a birdie, too.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Eagle on the left, birdie on the right. Oh, he's got another putt left. Now here's the eagle attempt of Nicklaus.
Just watch this.
He knows it's fast, but he's left it short.
Well, you couldn't be too bold on your putt, but he left himself the hardest putt that he could try to make. Jack, talking about.
J.C. Snead needs this now to stay at +1 and in sole possession of 3rd place in the tournament. Has done so. He's 3 shots behind Andy North. Gary Player's 2 shots behind Andy North. Stockton's 4 behind. Then at 5 behind, Miller, Nicklaus, Ballesteros, Kite, and Watson. Watson, again, remember, has had 4 birdies on the front 9 and 1 bogey. He started the day at 6 over par. Now back to 3 over. Tom Watson, the current British Open champion. The 3rd tee now with the leaders Andy North and Gary Player. They couldn't be more varied in their size or their background. One 6'4", 210 from Madison, Wisconsin. The other 5'8", 150 from Johannesburg, South Africa, playing at his home altitude.
Yes, that's right. Club selection, you don't usually think about it off the tee, but club selection going downwind here is very important because that fairway is so short. It's not very far to get through there, and if you happen to get through there, as Miller looked like he did, it was a quick 5.
The hole is only 323 yards long by the official scorecard.
Come on, Win.
Come on, Win, he said. Get it, Win.
Perfect. Absolutely perfect.
Okay, Bob, that sure is, isn't it?
That's as far left as you'd want to go, isn't it, Rossi?
Well, it actually bounced in the short rough, but it's just a perfect, absolutely perfect shot.
Right.
Here's Nicklaus for the birdie on 5 now. They could bring him back to +2. Despite the double bogey, he'd still be very much in it. Yes, sir. Birdie for Jack Nicklaus. Now, Gary Player with his tee shot at the 3rd. He also laying up. Where's that, Ross?
That's perfect, too.
Yep.
Right down the middle of the fairway. He's going to have to come over the bunker a little more than Andy, but the way Gary plays these kind of shots, I don't think it'll give him too much difficulty.
What club would you guess they used downwind today, Bob?
Well, that's probably a 4-iron,
Yeah.
I would say. You know, a lot of them were taking a shot at this green earlier. Watson drove it right off the edge, and numerous players tried to drive it on the green.
There's a look at the broad scene here at Cherry Hills with the wind blowing. That's the machine they call Iron Byron, by the way, after the meticulous, perfect swing of Byron Nelson. Andy North by 2 in the U.S. Open right now. There's some of the other leaders who are in the final round, and the way this is shaping up, you ought to watch every stroke, and then you can tell your descendants that you saw them all that day when whoever won, Gary Player, on the 3rd hole, the short par 4. Much too long.
Well, if you're going to make a mistake there, it should be long. You don't want to put the ball in, bury it in that front bunker.
Okay, here's Andy North, as Bob Rosberg pointed out, he's in a number 1 position. He's got a better angle coming in, really, too, doesn't he?
A little bit better angle. You still have to go over that trap. There's no place on that on that little fairway where they don't have that trap to go over.
Which trap?
This hole actually plays tougher down the end, Dave, as you know.
Right, because the green is hard.
Well, it's a beautiful shot, though.
Okay, but still, you just can't stop it there. Well over the green, same places as Gary is, really.
Well, the green's a little firm. The 3rd green is probably the firmest of any of the 18 greens here, and obviously all the players know that.
Jack Nicklaus on the par 3 6th hole. This could be birdie territory. He started out with a couple of birdies, remember, took a double bogey, then birdied the last hole. At +2, he's very much in it. Saying roll, roll, there it is, coming back. It hit off the green, off the putting surface, apparently, and then came back. Now on the 4th fairway with J.C. Snead. J.C. Snead at +1 is in 3rd place right now, 3 strokes off the lead of Andy North.
And in the last 4 holes, counting yesterday at 18, he has missed 2 very short putts.
Ooh, one yesterday at 18 was no more than 2 feet.
Where's it going, Dow?
This is coming into the center of the green, Dave. He's going to hit on the lower level, bouncing up. Should hold the green. He's going to be some 30 feet away, it looks.
That's a good shot.
Not a bad shot.
J.C. Snead, as we said yesterday, trying to do what his uncle Sam never was able to do, to win the U.S. Open. Sam Snead, who came so close, shot so many subpar rounds in the U.S. Open, never, ever won it. Jay Snead has his chance today, but so do about a dozen other people. Gary Player doing the plumb bob. Still wonder about that sometimes.
I've never seen it help a bad putter.
Tomorrow night, the Yankees against the Boston Red Sox, or Chicago Cubs against the Pittsburgh Pirates. 2 good ball games. Check your local listings, 8 Eastern. Now you can see the thickness of that rough as Gary's shoes go down and as the club goes through it on the practice swing.
This is always hard to judge if that ball is sitting down a little, because you're going to get a certain amount of that grass between the club head and the putter.
3rd shot on the par 4, 3rd hole, the short par 4. It's rolling. Still rolling.
See?
Wow. Boy, there have been a lot of them going by today. Yeah. Jim Young, the green superintendent, who's done a tremendous job here, told me that they've been watering them every night. It's not a question of just letting them dry out.
Yeah, but how much?
Well, I was speaking to Sandy Tatum, the president of USGA, and several of them today on the stimp meter, as the USGA measured it out to be faster than at Southern Hills last year. Nicklaus on the left now. Watson on the 9th for yet another birdie. He's had 4 birdies so far in the front 9 to go with 1 bogey. He could go 4 under on the front if he makes that putt on the right. Jack Nicklaus on the left with a birdie putt, a long one, on the par 3, 8th hole. There's Watson. Nope. And there's Nicklaus. Nope.
Good roll, though.
Yep.
Both of them.
Yep. So they should both get their pars. Watson to remain at +3, Nicklaus to remain at +2. The leader still Andy North, -2. Okay. Well, a lot of people are tuning in and out this afternoon because of the length of our telecast. We're trying to keep you up to date at all times on where everybody stands. Who's ahead? That's why they play it, isn't it?
It sure is.
Andy North now, hitting from almost the same place as his fellow competitor today, Gary Player. This is his 3rd shot on the par 4 hole. This was just a few seconds ago while you were watching the live action of Nicklaus and Watson, and no.
That is really fast, even though he chipped it. And Gary really needs to make this putt, Jim. He just 3-putted the last hole, missing a putt about this long, and nothing can destroy your game quicker than putting poorly.
This is live again now.
Oh, my goodness.
2 bogeys in a row for Gary Player. Not like him at all, but again, it's the U.S. Open. He goes to +1. Andy North suddenly has a 3-shot lead in the Open. He has his putt coming up. Ooh, Gary Must not be happy at all. These are the holes you're supposed to birdie, particularly on a day like this, I should think. J.C. Snead on the right for a birdie at the 4th hole. Remember? We saw his second shot. He's on the left side of the green with a long putt. Oh, he's left that one. That is considerably longer than the one he missed on 18 yesterday. Andy North for his par on 3 on the left of your screen. The wind is still up, remember. It's supposed to stay up. All right. Andy North remains at -2. He now has a 3-shot lead in the Open over Gary Player and J.C. Snead. But Snead has that little tough putt to make right now. Dave Stockton is in 4th place, 4 shots behind, along with Jack Nicklaus. 5 shots back. Johnny Miller, Ballesteros, Tommy Kite, and Tommy Watson, and Andy Bean. Here's Stockton now in 4th place, remember, tied with Nicklaus. Dave Stockton twice won the PGA Championship at Southern Hills in Tulsa and at Congressional in the heat and the lightning storms there a couple of years ago.
He plays hard courses well, and he said it this morning, Jim, that if he could just get on the greens, he didn't feel that anyone could out-putt him, because he is a very determined, positive putter. He looks like he's going to make most of them to me when he gets up over it.
Yep. One-time player on the golf team at the University of Southern California. Tom Watson made his par on 9. A fine front 9 for the current British Open champion. 3 under par, 32 for Watson. He may have something going. 18 years ago, it was Arnold Palmer coming from 7 off. Watson started this day 8 behind. Okay, we're getting a lot of wind noise today in the mics. That's what you're hearing. And there is Andy North on the 4th tee hitting an iron. Ooh, looks pretty good out there. He's got a good shot at it, doesn't he, Bob? Good line to the green.
Well, that's where you want to be.
Yeah.
Maybe Rossi can't get to us right now, but a little right of that, I would think today would be absolutely perfect. This
that's what I was
wind
wondering,
is right to left here. That's why the gallery clapped a little while ago for Nicklaus, and yet I'm sure the wind blew his ball into the rough, and that's when he made 6.
This hole is 429 yards long, but you have 2 things going for you today. Your downwind and the 5 to 7% increase in distance because of the mile-high attitude. Gary looks quite pleased with that, and there's the ball.
Balls are right together.
They sure are, Bob. So it goes on, still in the early stages of the final round of the 78th United States Open. Stay with us.
Jack Nicklaus' second shot to the 7th. 384 yards. And, well, it was, one could almost say a good break, but a bad break, because it cleared the bunker. It might so easily have pitched in the top of the bunker, but caught the hard edge of the green, scuttled over the back. Gary Player, second to the 4th. How's it, Bob? Oh, well. We can see for ourselves. That was a marvellous shot from Player just when he needed it. Having had some putting problems. Played a beautiful shot in there. Andy North. That's how the players are down at the bottom of the field, with the leaders Player and North bringing up the rear. Andy North's second shot.
Peter, he's going to have to start hitting some greens. You can't miss all the greens and get them up and down. This is a good-looking shot, though. This is right on it.
Well, two superb shots from Player and North. Miller on the par 5, 5th hole. No, he seems to have lost a little of the magical putting touch he had 2 or 3 years ago. But another look at this huge man, young Andy North, second shot to the 4th hole. And for those older viewers, just watch how high the backswing is. But I like the follow through, very reminiscent when he gets through, well down and through. Just watch now how reminiscent that is of the great George Baer, who I played with when I first came here some 20-odd years ago. And very reminiscent of mighty George's hitting. Same build too, about. Now here's Nicklaus from behind the, or off the back of the 7th green. You can see the flag there fluttering away. Really breezy, but a beautiful day, testing day. And this is a testing little chip shot. Played it very well. North, though, 3 shots ahead of the field. But much can happen over the next 3 hours. Tom Watson now, who played such a superb first 9 holes. And the roars are starting already, and why not? Unlucky. Just a little bit too much backspin, took him further away from the hole. Watson opened up with a 74, then a 75, then a 70. Now Dave Stockton, 5th fairway. And that skips over and into some trouble. Look where that flag is today. It doesn't give you much room to get close to the flag for 2. After all, this is 543 yards. A lot of wind blowing. You can see those Sneads off the fairway. Doesn't seem to be lying too badly. And Dow Finsterwald is there. Dow, it's a difficult shot ahead of this big man.
Yes, Peter. His ball is sitting good for that type of grass, but it's going to be a difficult shot to hold on to the green if he elects to go for the putting surface.
There's the pulpit green. Snead's ball's on its way, and...
Oh, it hit into the bank, but it's still going to slip over the green, Peter. Both balls are back over the green, and they have some problems back there.
Well, we know it's pretty quick from the back of this green to the flag, even though they're going into the wind.
Well,
so, Stockton and Snead with difficult chips back. It'll be fascinating to see them when they turn for home if this wind keeps blowing, because one won't be able to play conservatively from a tee with a 1-iron. You'll need everything you can give it. Now, Player, can he hold this for a 3 on the 4th? So slips by. And so that's how they are. Early holes yet. But Andy North 3 strokes ahead. Now North really gets down over this ball with his putter. Slip left as Players has done, but no, caught the side, toppled in, and that's a birdie. And well, at the moment, this young giant is striding away. He couldn't be playing with a tougher man than Gary Player. Seen him do some incredible things over his years of golf. And just look at that. That's the 8th hole, completely ringed by spectators. 229 yards, par 3. Take a good shot to get on the green today. Good shot. Player got his par. And Jack's played a superb shot, again just off the putting surface, just leaves it. An awkward little shot. He's only, what, 18, 20 feet from the hole at the very most. Just with a little tricky shot. Now back to David and Goliath. Andy North. There's that George Bear finish, and it's on its way. How's it looking down there?
Well, it's good looking drive. Oh, it's perfect and a tremendous drive. I would think he might be able to put it on there with a 4 or 5 iron from where he's driven it. He's just hit a tremendous drive. I guess after you one putt the first 4, though, it makes it a little easier.
Well, that seems to have been the pattern of Andy's play. He's been a little wayward, but he's kept holding out. Now, player, all his determination is called for now.
Right down the middle, Peter. Good drive.
Yes, and a bit of run on the fairway. Beautiful, beautiful shot. Well, we've got a little question and answer for you coming up, and all keeping the interest boiling.
On the par 5, 5th hole, Dave Stockton will have a birdie opportunity with a snake going downhill. It looks like it's about 12 feet long. Dow Finstowall, he must have hit a brilliant shot coming back up onto the green from his trouble. Slid it up, held it. It is so slick. This is a competitor, but that one slides just off the hole, so he'll have the tap in for par. J.C. Snead coming back from behind the green, rolled it just off the green, then chipped it back, and this is a par putt for Jesse Carlisle. Stockton missing the opportunity there, just barely, to pick up a shot on par. And I'm sure there's a leaderboard out in that neighborhood. He's seen it and realizes that North now has gone to -3 and is Jack Nicklaus on the 8th hole. That's that long 229-yard par 3, and Jack's tee shot hit on the green, skidded across, and went just off the putting surface, so he's got to chip back about 18, 19 feet to the pin. J.C. Snead with a par putt on 5. Jack's chip shot on 8, good one. Snead's putt, good one, in the back of the cup. And so now the 5th green will clear as Snead and Stockton walk away, and we'll leave it for, as Peter said, David and Goliath. And Peter, so far, Goliath is beating up on David as North leads Gary Player by 4. Gary hitting first.
Well, there's one of the worst shots I've ever seen Gary Player hit, Keith. They tried to grip down on that 6th wood, put it over the gallery to the right. I don't know where it is, but it's way in the right-hand rough.
Looked like it just squirted dead right, Bobby.
Yes, it was a kind of a, I don't know, he had a downhill lie, and he tried to choke down on that 6th wood, and it just didn't work. I believe that Andy North can get home with a 6 or 7 iron from where he is, Keith.
Good Lord, really?
He's got about 190 yards and straight downwind, and he wants to hit something hard that'll get up in the air. And I wouldn't doubt that this is a 7 iron.
We're looking at Gary Player in slow motion. You could very well see that ball just go straight right. So he's having his trouble, didn't he? Meantime, the big man from Wisconsin just kind of ambling along here. Let's suggest a 6 iron, because after all, the hole is 543 yards. But it's got to be at least a 6, because the ball jumped up so fast.
Beautiful looking shot.
Right on the back here.
Right up on the back edge, long way away from the hole. Pin cut down in front. Mac McCullough on the 18th hole. Finishing his round. When he went through, last I saw, he was -2 for the day. He knocked that putt in for a par.
That's a 68, Keith.
68.
68 ties for lowest round of the tournament.
You know, that's fun because Mike was the dew sweeper yesterday. Almost invariably, you wind up with an odd man in the U.S. Open after the cut, and somebody gets to play dawn's earliest light by themselves. And Mike came striding through and played in well under 3 hours yesterday. Jack Nicklaus got his par on the par 3 8th hole. Andy North is on the putting surface at the 5th. Gary Player is in the woods. We'll look at the 6th tee now, which is a par 3, and David Stockton selecting his weapon. That's the 5th green behind Stockton. You see the bunker and the green behind him. As we pull back to show you the green. J.C. Snead is safely on the putting surface, and Dave Stockton walking and looking. And he, too, is on, and anytime Stockton's that close, he's got a chance. Dave right now +2, J.C. +1 for the tournament, and they are playing the 6th hole. When wind continues to whirl around, it's not really terribly consistent in its direction nor its velocity. Andy North is the leader by 4 over Gary Player, and let's take a moment for a message now from the United States Golf Association. The miseries of Gary Player now are being shown to you from somewhere out near the 5th green. Bob Rosberg.
Well, he's got a shot that's almost impossible to get to the green, I would think. He'd have to take it with a sand wedge, and he's going to have to hit a sand wedge, and he's going to have to just put it straight up in the air and just hope for the best in how it hits. Going straight downhill. Really got a pretty good lie for being in the rough, but it's just so hard of a shot. Just a very, very difficult shot.
I know that shot well. I've never pulled it off either. Using, obviously, to hit it straight up in the air, he's got to go with a sand wedge and open the blade.
What a shot. What a shot.
Unfortunately for Gary, it stops just short of that 4 acres of sand they call a front bunker, which is an awesome thing to sit out there on the fairway and look at, especially when you're trying to reach a very hard putting surface. But I'm always reminded when I look at this fellow from South Africa, this farmer, rancher, world traveler, golfer, and gentleman, don't ever say never to him. Johnny Miller now on the 7th fairway. Hole number 7 is a 384-yard par 4. Obviously, Johnny did not hit the ball well off the tee, otherwise he wouldn't be there. He has not mounted a charge today. We sort of thought he might be burning, but not so. Or just hacked at it. It's tough. Soft grass just reaches right down and embraces your ball and refuses to yield it when you lash at it, and he did not get out of the rough. Here's J.C. Snead's birdie putt now on the 6th hole. Got to break some. Yes, indeedy, it's got to break some. See that thing snap when it got over that little hop back and just dove down the pipe. So J.C. Snead is now back to even par, and here is the eagle putt. The 3rd stroke on the par 5 5th hole by Andy North. And, well, he left it above the hole, and thus he has some work left if he's to make birdie on 5. 'Tis better to get it below the hole, but at the same time, I can certainly appreciate how easy it is to be just a tad timid coming downhill. But old J.C. wasn't timid. He just rammed it home on the 6th. It's possible that the roar from over on the 6th was a bit disconcerting to Andy North. Now back to 5 for Gary Player. Drove it well, hit it dead right, second shot, marvelous recovery shot. This is his 4th stroke on the 5th hole. Well, despite being in the woods and traveling cross country, he's going to make 5 if he makes that putt. But right now, Andy North has a chance to go 4 under for the tournament with this little short putt. J.C. Snead having birdied 6 to go even par through 6 holes, and he now becomes the prime pursuer of the leader North. Dave Stockton getting his par on the 6th hole. So David stays at +2 for the tournament. This is a birdie try for Andy North on the 5th. Tried to climb out of there, but enough of it got over the emptiness that it fell in from the right side. And now Andy leads by 4 shots over J.C. Snead, 5 over Gary Player, and 6 over Stockton and Nicklaus, 7 over Ballesteros, Kite, Watson, Bean, as Gary taps in to make 5. So the big man from Madison is not yielding. He is just building his lead as the day wears on. You look back through the field and nobody has mounted a charge at him. Nobody. Tom Watson started, but through 10, Tom is still 3 over. Severiano Ballesteros on the 7th hole. Bill Fleming is traveling with him.
Off the right side, and boy, this is some shot to come back up out of that. So he is hitting 3.
Well, he made some shot.
You bet.
On the 7th hole, par 4, 384-yard hole, Seve Ballesteros playing with Johnny Miller. The sand firm enough here at Cherry Hills does not seem to swallow the ball. Ball sits up pretty well. Par 3, 6th hole now, as we see the leader North and Gary Player with Andy hitting first. Club selection. Very difficult here. At 166 yards, with a shift in the wind, can become 176 yards very quickly. Or with the wind at your back, it can become a lot less. Looks like the wind's sort of blowing sideways across it, Bob Rosberg.
Yes, it's coming directly from the left, Keith. It's shifted a little since we've started play today. Very easy to knock the ball over this green. I haven't seen too many balls short here.
I would guess 7 iron, 6 iron. I've seen some people hit 8 irons. We were told that Andy hit a 7 iron.
Very good shot, right down below the hole, about 25 feet, but you just can't fool with the left of this hole today.
Colorado Golf Association, in its studies, figures you get about 7% more carry at this altitude than you would at sea level. Sometimes it seems more.
Keith, I think it's got to be more than that. We were talking about that this morning, and you're hitting 6 and 7 irons, 210 yards. You know, you got to go with a 3 iron at sea level, and I just can't believe the ball doesn't go further than that.
I would tend to agree with you. Ballesteros par 7, Gary Player's tee shot on the 6th hole.
Looks like he's left it just a little right, too. And short. The ball is just on the front edge and spinning back, staying on the green, but 50 feet from the hole.
There is just no luck for Gary Player, who is scuffling. Jack Nicklaus way left on his tee ball on the 9th hole, chipped it back into the fairway. This is his 3rd shot on the par 4 9th coming up the hill. Well, he had a putt of considerable length trying to salvage par at 9. On the 8th tee now, which is a very demanding par 3 at 229 yards, Severiano Ballesteros. The way he hits it, Bill, where's the wind on this hole?
Well, it's right from right to left, actually, and more in his face than, well, if you were looking at a clock, it's coming right out of that 130 position. So, but I'll tell you this, Keith, I have never been more impressed with length than I have with Ballesteros.
Oh, he can whop it.
Oh, today he's 30, 40, 50, 60 yards beyond Miller.
Might very well have hit a 3-iron there. The wind coming across.
And just trickles off the back edge.
And that's a pretty delicate shot, too, because he's got to come up a little hump and then down, right?
You know, you made the point earlier about how hard it is to get the feel of it. And I think that all of his shots have been long. He still hasn't quite gotten the feel of the 5,381 feet of altitude.
Okay, we're back on 9 now with Jack Nicklaus, and Tom Watson has picked up one more birdie on the 11th hole. Par putt, that's somewhere in the neighborhood of 1/8 of a mile. You can snap off a pretty good deuce from that distance. Got to be in the neighborhood of 55 to 60 feet. Short and swinging right. So Jack is looking at bogey and not quite there yet. He's had one double bogey already on the front side on the 4th hole. J.C. Snead now on the 7th fairway. Dow Finstowall can call it for you.
J.C. Snead's ball is on its way up. It pits past the hole and is on the backside of the green. J.C. had gone off with some sort of a short club because he left himself about 165 yards to the front edge of the green. Much longer than most of the players have had to play into this green today.
All right, Dow, we go back to 6. Gary Player's 50-footer. If it should drop, it'll be for a 2. It's an awfully good touch to get it that close from that distance. Back we go now to 7 for Dave Stockton. Dow?
Nice looking shot coming in right at the flag. It's going to be a little right, though, and it's holding just pin high.
So Stockton and Snead are both safely on the green at 7. Stockton at +2 and Snead at even. And Andy North is dancing along at the top of the heap, 4 under. Jack Nicklaus back on 9. Bogey putt. Gary Player par 6. Jack Nicklaus, 9th hole. Andy North now on the 6th. Top edge, 1.5 foot. Should make his par all right from there. Tom Watson creeping into the picture, +2 through 11, having birdied the par 5 hole there. You can see now Tom's moved up there with the +2s along with Stockton. think one of the interesting things that perhaps you might like to know is we have cameras all over the countryside here, but I guess you can never have enough. So we're having to move from the early holes to the later holes, and there's a huge crowd here at Cherry Hills. We're on our way in moving them. It could be that we will miss some portion of the early leaders as they pass along, but our intrepid crew will have them in place very shortly. Our engineers have done a magnificent job as we cover the 78th U.S. Open from Cherry Hills.
You're watching ABC Sports' exclusive live coverage of all 18 holes of the final round of the 78th United States Open Golf Championship, Cherry Hills Country Club outside Denver, Colorado. The temperature 75 degrees, the wind 15 to 25 miles an hour, and it may get stronger. This is Jim McKay at our anchor position, along with Dave Marr and Frank Hannigan of the USGA. And you've been watching there how they stand. Here is Seve Ballesteros of Spain at +3 with his third shot.
He had knocked it over the green. This is chip back, so it's for a par.
Making his par, remaining at +3 for the tournament is Ballesteros. He's 1 over on today's round. The leader is Andy North by 4 shots over J.C. Snead, by 5 over Gary Player, by 6 over Dave Stockton, Tom Watson, who is rallying, who is 4 under par today, by 7 shots over Jack Nicklaus and Ballesteros. Also for a par, on the 7th hole, this is Dave Stockton. Remember, he's 6 shots behind, but in 4th place. The only 2 people attacking the golf course and scoring under par among the leaders today are the leader, Andy North, who's 2 under this afternoon, and Watson, who's 4 under. Here is the aforementioned Mr. North.
He's swinging a lot more aggressively than he did yesterday, Jim. I thought that the shots that he didn't hit well were because they were a little tentative. I think he's gotten confidence after yesterday's round.
J.C. Snead, he needs this for a par, making very sure of him today after the short one he missed yesterday. J.C. Snead's in 2nd place in this tournament, all by himself, 4 shots off the lead. Remember, there is a long, long way to go. Now back to Gary Player. This was his tee shot on the 9th hole. Excuse me, on the 7th hole. Yeah, I should say. Covering them all here today. Got to keep them straightened out.
It's tough to do sometimes. There's a look at 18 from the way we see it.
Yep. We can sure feel that wind and hear it gusting up here on the tower, too. There is the way they stand. There you spot your men, your favorites, because many of them are in there. And North is not just trying to maintain a lead in the U.S. Open. He's trying to stave off the likes of Jack Nicklaus and Gary Player. Johnny Miller here mounted a charge yesterday. Today he's having his problems. Johnny Miller is at +5 for the tournament now. +6, excuse me, he's lost another. He started at +2, so he's 4 over.
Oh, Jim, you just cannot hit the ball any better than that on this 9th hole. Right uphill into the wind. And John is really going to have to mount the charge at this point. He's running out of holes.
Do he and Ballesteros communicate at all?
Not very much. I was surprised at that. They shook hands, put their arms around each other's shoulders on the 1st hole, and that's just about it.
That was that. They have problems of their own. We're at the foot of the Rockies. There's still snow up there. 8th tee, J.C. Snead, 2nd in the tournament. This, the par 3 hole, 229 yards.
Great par 3, Jim. Miss it to the right, and you're in the tall bluegrass, and very difficult shot. If you miss here, I would assume you'd want to be in the left-hand trap, be a little bit easier shot there.
J.C. is 1 under on today's round. Started 1 over for the tournament, now even. One of the longer hitters. Never won a major championship, although he's played a lot of good golf and won a lot of money. Well, he's got a little problem there from that long stuff, huh?
Well, short, yes. Either he didn't catch that like he wanted to, or he just completely misjudged the strength of the wind. That hole is almost directly into the wind there.
How is the wind out there now, Dow Finsterwall?
Well, it definitely is coming into their face, and J.C.'s ball just seemed to kind of hold up in the wind, and as you see, it came down some 12 yards short, and he's in some pretty heavy-looking grass.
Okay, now Gary Player on the 7th hole, the 384-yard par 4, about to essay his 2nd shot. Looks pretty scary from that angle behind them, doesn't it? Trees.
Jim, they all look scary in the U.S. Open. There's no such thing as an easy shot.
You know, Dave, I think that Gary, it would seem to me, would be starting to let out a little more than he is. He's laying back so far that he's not giving himself much chance. And when you get 5 behind, you know, he's not playing for second now. He's trying to win.
Right. Bob, has he got to play a hook around those trees?
Yes, I believe so. He's got it up in the air. He had a, I don't see it as yet.
Yeah, we've got it now, Bob. He's
Well,
on the
I tell you, it
green.
was a pretty good shot.
Yep.
He laid back there where he's probably playing a 6 or 7 iron, where everybody else is playing a 9 iron or wedge or a little 8. It's pretty hard to give away that much.
Isn't really like him at this point in the championship, is it?
I wouldn't think so.
Okay, I'm sure you can hear that wind whipping around as Andy North gets ready to hit his second shot on the 7th hole. North has been unshakable so far on these last 2 days.
He's played a low shot right on the flag, a little long.
Yes, it is. On the putting surface, however.
Well played, though.
About 30 feet.
10th fairway, Jack Nicklaus. Nicklaus at +3 for the tournament. Is 7 shots out of the lead. Took a bad kick.
Well, but that's the kick you get there, and every player knows that. With that flag in the right side, it is very difficult to get the ball anywhere near it. Big, steep right to left there and downhill, Jim.
And downwind. Okay, Nicklaus marches on. It isn't over yet. We'll be back.
And that's how they stand. Andy North 4 strokes ahead of Snead, 5 player. Andy North trickling one down to the hole. Has it got enough speed? Good line, not quite enough pace. Just left himself a little tester. But he is 4 strokes ahead. And if he can just keep his composure and keep out of trouble, he's going to be a hard man to catch. Jack Nicklaus. Just off the green. Nicklaus out in 35, having had all sorts of problems, a few birdies as well. So, rather bold. Player. This for a 3, and that's been the story of Player today. He's had a couple of shortish putts missed and a couple of long ones that have just shaved the edge of the hole. Remains 1 over par. Andy North replaces his ball. We'll go and look at Snead on the 8th with a difficult little chip shot thrown high, but you can see it runs on and on, goes 8 or 9 feet past. Snead in 2nd place. Now North for his par. And this to remain 4 ahead. Yes, he's not missed too many of those. We've seen Jesse Snead miss 2 of that length, or even perhaps less. And just look at that. Don't we take you to some nice places? And talking of nice places, I'd like to just take a second to thank all our friends for their telephone calls and telegrams. It's nice to know you're enjoying the golf. Nicklaus for his par at the 10th. Touched it gently and rolled it right into the middle of the hole. Smiling Nicklaus. Tied now with Tom Watson and Severiano Ballesteros at 3 over par. Back to Snead. Fighting to get his par. His par at the 8th. And looks good. Well, you would have had to have bet when that was a foot from the hole it would have dropped, but it didn't. So to 1 over, and Master North is 5 ahead. Let's have another look at that. Now just watch this ball. You can almost see the slope. Look, it starts to turn. Now, you'd bet $1 million there, but it doesn't go. And so Jesse drops a stroke. Once again, we see these wonderful crowds here at Cherry Hills, enjoying a feast of good golf. This 8th hole, 229 yards. Getting some marvelous close-in pictures today. This is what half our telephone calls are about, people saying they're enjoying the delightful photography, and I can assure you there's a lot of hard work goes into all this, and I know our intrepid cameraman, Larry and Sal and Evan and Warren and all the boys, they get a kick out of it as well, all golfing enthusiasts. Just look at that flag now, positioned back left, middle back left here, tucked away. Very demanding shot indeed, as North prepares his tee shot. Bob Rosberg.
This is low left and into the crowd. That's the same shot he hit at 15 yesterday. One of those over-the-top pulls, and he was very fortunate, Peter. He caught the crowd and knocked it down. He's short of the bunker. He's going to have a very difficult pitch, but it could have been back in the trees where he had no shot at all.
Yeah, but one must say that was really a stinker, wasn't it?
That's the one place you don't want to put it when you're 5 in front. You know, you think you'd shoot it out to the right, because Andy's pretty good at drawing it, but it was one of those unfortunate swings.
Well, a good shot from Player, and perhaps a 2, and
he's got it out to the right. It's going to catch the front part of the green if it gets up.
And it barely did, just stopped 14 or 15 inches short of the putting surface. Here's North again. Big man just didn't release it. Dave Marr was saying how much better he was. Looks fine there, everything looks fine, but it's just the dreaded last couple of feet in the hitting area that something strange happens. The club face is pulled over. Didn't look too bad, but just scuffed it and pulled it round to the left. Balance and poise at the end looks great, but it's the dreaded hitting area, those magical 18 inches or so. Club face turns. There's the golf we've got coming up for you from the old grey town of St Andrews up there in Scotland. Fife in Scotland, Saturday, July the 15th, and the Women's Open Championship, which should be very stimulating and exciting indeed, with Nancy Nobles and so many other young girl golfers coming in, and perhaps some not so young, but I'm sure you'll enjoy it all. Tom Watson, who really has been playing superbly well. This is for another birdie at the 13th, the dreaded 13th that has been so expensive over the years for Jack Nicklaus. This is Watson for a 3. So near and yet so far. Remains 3 over par. But if Watson could really put in a dynamic finish over these demanding final holes, he could well set a target. He's going to take some matching, although Andy North is well in the lead at the moment. He's in all sorts of trouble at the 8th hole, and much could happen yet. Bob Rosberg, what about this one?
Well, he's got the kind of a lie, Peter, that if you weren't playing in the National Open, you'd consider it a good one because you have a great chance of getting the ball close. But it's sort of a tempting lie. It's not the kind of lie you'd like to play safe. It's a dry lie, which you don't see many of around here. He takes a chance if he tries to get it close of leaving it in the bunker, but he's pitching right into the wind, which is a big break. But he got a tremendous break, having the crowd stop the ball.
Peter?
The leaderboard, the back leaderboard shows...
Beautiful shot, a little long, but just like he should have played it.
Yes, that's playing sensibly, and he's got it 15 or 16 feet away, and well, he can afford to have a little breather. Not too many, but he can afford a little breather. Gary Player is not on the green. Gary will do well to get his par 3. North is well ahead. His Player short of the green. Study and concentration. Sneed's well off course at the 9th, and Dow Finsterwald is there.
Yes, Peter, he is over here in the left rough. He's behind some bushes. He's got about 200 yards to the flag. The grass is not laying favorably for him. In fact, it's laying against him, so he has a very, very difficult shot coming up here. I'd be very surprised if he can get it on the green, and he'd probably do well just to get it up in front. Looks like he's going with a lofted club to make sure he gets over the bushes here. That's just what he's done. He's pitched it into the fairway. It's running slightly. It may catch that right rough, though.
Yes, indeed. Jack Nicklaus at the 11th. Really had a tight lie there. He crunched into that one. Looks back at the rueful lie from where the ball lay. And our ball marker scampers away. Looks like a 10-second man in the making. And he's found it. Still a long, long way to go. Now, Player at the 8th. Well, he elects to putt it from the semi-rough and charges it way past. And I must say there are many players here trying to help Mr. North. Here's Andy, just a few minutes ago, trying for his par. Just caught the edge. But he's not being pressured by anybody at the moment, and with Player racing by, no great strain being put on this young fellow at the moment. Now, this young, exciting Spanish player, Ballesteros, Severiano Ballesteros, coming down the 10th hole.
Peter, I think that's about the longest drive I have seen here in 3 days. He's hit it well over 300 yards. He's only about 130 yards from the green. Of course, he's in the deep rough. He just popped it up. Now that happens with that deep rough. It just grabs your club, and he's going to just roll up short.
Well, he got a nice break there. It came bouncing round, and it's given him a little chip up to the flag. And if anyone can chip it in or do something mystical and magical, it's this young man, Ballesteros. It's rather vulgar sometimes to talk about money, but he has won almost $500,000 in 2 years, which is quite remarkable in worldwide golf. There's Sneed. And still in trouble. Sneed, who's had so many marvelous shots and long putts holed over these holes so far, has missed a couple of short ones and found quite a bit of trouble. Back to the 8th. Player missed his putt, so has dropped to 2 over par. So North has this little one for a 1 over par 4, which won't do him any harm at all if he just pops it in. Yes. Nerves of steel, this boy. And back to Sneed, his nearest challenger, who plays a very fine shot indeed. And would you believe that would stop short of the hole? But he's in trouble here. And everyone trying to make Andy North's job as easy as they possibly can. Nicklaus, third shot, 11th hole. And if that gets a nice run and bounce, and it did, and it's coming and coming and coming. And, well, he's only 18 feet away or so. Now back to Ballesteros. Now, for you devotees of the chip shot, this fellow is really a marvelous exponent of this shot. Now, whether he'll do it for you now, well, probably he won't, just to spite me, but he is a genius at this. Well, you can see how much he played it away to the right to use the slope. It's almost gone sideways at the end. So he would have needed to be a double genius, perhaps, to get that close. Sneed on the 9th. This for a 1 over par 5. Yes. So everyone but Andy North dropping strokes, except Tom Watson, who perhaps had too much of a handicap round his neck at the start of the day. That's how they are. Dave Stockton holding his place very competitively and professionally. Bill Kratzert, an excellent striker. Tom Watson doing well, and Tom Weiskopf coming back into the picture after a few disasters. And how about that for a lovely view? Just look at those pretty pictures. Isn't that marvellous? There he is, Tom Watson. At the 14th hole, there's his second shot. Yes, sir. Well, I think I said a moment or two ago, if he could put in a good finish, if he could finish something like 4-3, 4-4-4, or something in that order, he could well put the cat among the pigeons even yet. Nicklaus at the 11th, after being all over the course, still has a putt for a birdie. You can see the wind whipping round his trouser legs. Ballesteros on the right, on the 10th, for a par. Just not enough pace. Ballesteros, a few carambas and a tap in, and Nicklaus just shaves past the top of the hole, and that seems to be one of the stories here today on the greens. Lots of good-looking putts, just slipping past, just being taken away from the hole. These subtle little slopes and the pace of the greens. Great, great excitement. We're going to leave you for a couple of minutes while you hear about some good things, but we'll return.
J.C. Sneed, who is struggling today, still pursuing, but now 2 over par, while Andy North is 3 under par. You're looking at him a moment ago as he hit the ball off the 10th tee. And he hit it very well and has it rolling well on this long and sometimes difficult par 4, depending on the direction of the wind. His playing companion, Dave Stockton's in the rough. Second shots on the 9th hole, Gary Player hacking out of the rough with that 6-wood apparently, and his second shot is well short of the green, having pulled his drive on the 9th hole. That one comes up the hill off into the rough on the Player's left side. So he's certainly not home as yet. It has not been the kind of a day. I think one of the things that many of us thought that Gary Player could possibly, he's a sort of a man who could do it, come out here on the front side and just blow everybody away, but instead it has been Andy North who has done it. And now Gary Player as Bob Rosberg, and perhaps it was Dave Marr mentioned a moment ago that he seemed a bit tentative and is not really reaching back and hitting the ball with a little more audacity. This is Tom Watson, who is on the 14th, putting for birdie. Hit a big drive, came down off the hill on Ben Hogan, one of Ben Hogan's favorite holes. And this is a birdie try for Tom, and the swing is offline and goes below the hole. So he'll make 4 there. So he's not been able to come up with the barrage of birdies on the back 9 that he showed us on the front side as he started off with 3 in a row. Now let's go back to the 9th hole. Gary Player chipping out of the rough. And not a particularly good chip, frankly. Stuff's heavy, though, and bends over the ball, and sometimes you just can't get to the ball cleanly, and it'll squirt around on you. Andy North, the tournament leader, his ball is at the extreme left edge, but not in the heavy grass, as you can see. He lies 2 there. But it's a 1/4 of a mile to where the pin stands. Very, very long, and takes a particularly good read, and it will take a very firm stroke to get it there. And Bob Rosberg has watched them play this hole, and he's got to be somewhere in the neighborhood of 90 feet, doesn't he, Bob? All the way across that green. On its way. It's strong. You get it started downhill, and there's just no break to stop it. J.C. Snead's second shot on 10. And his ball hits the green and holds in there fairly well. We saw Severiano Ballesteros a moment ago hit one, a little chip shot up in there. That thing just caromed back down toward the lower side of the green, or the right side as you look at it from here, but J.C.'s ball held quite well. So Andy North now, who has actually weakened only 1 time today, is now in a bit of trouble on 9. Jack Nicklaus now on the 12th hole, and this is a hole that a lot of people don't particularly care for because it's a very demanding hole, and you can hit a very good shot in there sometimes, and it will not hold the green. But Jack holds it on the right side. So Nicklaus is on the putting surface, but a long way away from the pin, and Gary Player now putting for par on the 9th. A considerable par putt. At 15-foot range. It is just not there with that short stick today. And Gary Player now is going to lose another stroke to par and another stroke to Andy North. He now goes to +3 and 4 over for the day. 4 over 39 on the front side. Don't win U.S. Open shooting 39 on the front side on the last day, I don't think. Not when you have someone who has been as steady as North. But then looking at what's happened to the rest of the field, Andy has been about the only steady one, and he might very well make bogey here. He bogeyed the 8th hole, which is the only time he's been weak today. Taking his time with it. Well, should. Left it short, makes 5 at 9. Now Andy North gives 2 shots back to par, and he is -2 for the tournament, and now 4 shots ahead of J.C. Snead. And Snead is out on the 10th hole with a possible birdie opportunity in that he's going pretty much uphill. Ball should go a little left to right for him. And he left it on the high side. So he has that remaining for par. So with 9 tough holes in front of Andy North, J.C. Snead is by no means gone from the picture, and Dave Stockton steps up now. This is Jack Nicklaus with a birdie try on the 12th, the par 3 12th, coming almost all the way across the green. Now ball's going to start downhill and pull up just a bit short. So Jack should make his par all right at 12 and then go on to 13, which bit him so severely yesterday. And the leaderboard, North now, dropping 2 strokes to par, is 2 under through 9. He is 9 holes away from glory in the U.S. Open history book, followed by those gentlemen, Ballesteros, Bean, Irwin, and Weiskopf, all at 4, and Kretschert at 5. The wind continues to blow, though I don't believe it's, at least out where I am, not blowing quite as hard as it was earlier. Now this is Dave Stockton on the 10th hole. I think the 10th hole is a very difficult hole. If you don't have your ball down the left side of the fairway, it's almost impossible to get it anywhere near the pin, the way it kicks down on you. But this, for David, is a par putt. Hit his drive in the rough, hacked it out, and he's got to make this to save par. I tell you, that square-jawed old Trojan is tough with that short stick, isn't he? So he makes in a tough par putt, and we'll be back following a commercial and a question and answer from the United States Golf Association about the rules of golf.
It's the final round of the U.S. Open, and this is Tom Weiskopf about to hit his second shot a few moments ago on the 18th hole. Weiskopf 3 under for the day. Can shoot 68 with a par on this hole, which would be tied for low round of the tournament. Johnny Miller shot it yesterday, and Mike McCullough did it earlier today. But as you see, he left that second shot short, going downwind on this 480-yard par 4. Just a matter of club selection, Dave? Or?
Yes, that looked like a good swing. I just believe that he picked the wrong club there, and there's a little bank in front. You're pitching uphill. One more club looked like it had been perfect.
Now Dave Stockton. Remember, Dave Stockton is tied for second place, 4 shots behind leader Andy North. He's playing the 11th hole, which is a 594-yard par 5. And there's his second shot. First shot. Tom Watson has made a bogey at 15. That puts him at +4, so his charge seems to have come to a halt.
It's J.C. Snead's drive. Dow, look all right?
Hello.
I think he's made the bunker. Is that right? Yeah, there he is. J.C. in the bunker, so everybody who's chasing Andy North is having trouble. Only Andy has been unshakable, but that was until 2 holes ago. He has now bogeyed 2 holes in a row. I think it's important to point out, Dave, that half of the day's work assigned to Andy North is over. The other half still remains ahead of him, the back 9. Now here's Gary Player.
And whether you think that that there aren't any players putting any pressure on him, it's the pressure of winning this tournament that's ever present.
Gary Player had a very bad front 9, as you saw, 4 over. He shot 39. This is a par 71 golf course, 35 out, 36 in.
That's as good a shot as you could play from where he was, Jim. There's just no way you can get the ball close to the hole here. It's a very sadistic pin placement.
Well, that's a big slope. You can see it once the shot hits up. That's as close as anyone has gotten in 2.
By the way, just 2 amateurs played all 72 holes here. Jim Holtgreed finished at 304, but young Bob Clampett, who was among the leaders the first 2 days, but shot 80 yesterday, came right back at them today with 74, finished at 297 in his low amateur in this year's U.S. Open. Congratulations to him. He gets a gold medal and an exemption from qualifying for this year's amateur tournament later on in the summer. Andy North, here is the tournament leader. He started the day at 2 under. He is now 2 under, but at one point, remember, he had gotten to 4 under. He's bogeyed the last 2 holes. He would certainly like to stop that string.
Got a good lie here, Jim.
Better not flirt with that right side. Just.
And he hasn't hit it hard enough, I don't believe.
No, not at all.
And that's not the side you wanted on there.
Now, as we said, half his day's work is done, and mentally that can begin to eat at you a little bit in any tournament, I should think, Dave, but particularly in the U.S. Open.
Any of your major championships that maybe Andy feels a little strange. He's so far ahead of everyone. It's hard to keep bearing down, though you know you've got to. You've got 9 more holes, as you point out.
Okay, there's another look at the crowd and the beautiful scene here at Cherry Hills Country Club. We're outside Denver, a mile high and a little more. I think the altitude here at the clubhouse is something like 5,303 feet. And here is Tom Weiskopf
for a 4.
With this for a 4 that would give him a round of 68 today and bring Tom Weiskopf in at +4 for the tournament. Pretty well up there. That would certainly put him in the top 15 and exempt from qualifying for next year. He started a little bit too late this year, did Tom. He had 77 on the first day, and that was his undoing. Came back with 73, then a 70, and
great round.
68 for Tom Weiskopf.
288.
Young man who tied for second in this tournament, remember, 2 years ago at Atlanta with Al Geiberger behind Jerry Pate. And he's had so many seconds in the Masters. He won the British Open once. Here's Jack Nicklaus. We're peering through the leaves of Jack. Nicklaus.
This is the hole that got him yesterday, and with a much harder shot, he put the ball on the green at 13.
That's right. Yesterday he had a perfect tee shot and then put his second in the water. Here is the leader, Andy North, with his 3rd shot on the par 4 10th hole.
Very hard shot here. Just don't get too cute with it, Andy. That's a marvelous play there, and watch how far this will run
Still
by the
going.
hole.
Look at that. He couldn't have kept it much shorter than
No, that's as well as you could play that shot. That's what you have to make yourself do, all right? You don't have a chance or a good chance to make a par, so go ahead, make sure you don't make a double bogey. Those are the things that eat you up in a U.S. Open because there are not too many birdie holes.
Now here's Tom Watson.
16th
on
hole.
the 16th hole, having made a bogey at 15. He is now +4 for the tournament.
Perfect drive, Jim.
Just right.
That is one of the most beautiful golf holes I've ever seen, 16 here.
Now here's Hale Irwin. Hale Irwin for a birdie at 14. He's at +4 for the tournament, 1 under for today, and he will remain that way. Irwin, who led at the end of the first round, has had big enthusiastic galleries of his fellow Coloradans following him. Technically, he doesn't live in Colorado, he lives in Missouri, but he spent all of his youth here. He went to grammar school and high school at the University of Colorado, where he was all Big 8 in football. Dave Stockton now on the 11th fairway. Stockton, remember, tied for second, 4 shots behind Andy North, but North is in trouble, remember. The one man, the only man who really knows eyeball to eyeball. Look at that. Ooh, boy. 1 and 2 on the par 5 hole. Can Stockton be mounting a charge? He started the day at +1. He's now +2, but he could get that back. Here's Gary Player. Player's the only man who knows eyeball to eyeball when these opportunities open up vis-a-vis North, since he's playing with him, of course. But he's 5 behind, and, well, there's still quite a way to go when you're talking about the U.S. Open. We haven't said anything yet, but we'll be talking a good deal later about the 17th and the 18th holes. They're extremely difficult. All kinds of trouble possible. So Andy will be wanting to have that 3 or 4 shot lead if he can. Here's J.C. Snead with his 2nd shot on 11. Remember, he bunkered his tee shot on this par 5 hole.
Now he has to play up short, even though it's a par 5 that can be reached into, as you just saw Stockton do. But there's a cross bunker across the fairway. Now he's back into the rough again.
Boy, those young fellas doing the marking really have been scurrying. Again, a reminder of where we are at the foot of the Rockies. Snow still up on top. Andy North now needing this for a par. No. So it's at least the third bogey in a row. We won't grant him that one quite yet.
That's as good as he could do after he hit that second shot. Maybe he tried to play too good a shot there on his second shot.
And suddenly the lead is down again to 3 strokes. Andy North started the day 2 under. Now he's 1 under. He's 1 over on today's round. He has lost 3 strokes to par in the last 3 holes. He still has 8 to go. Most people think the 8 toughest holes on the golf course. All this at Cherry Hills outside Denver, where Arnold Palmer charged from 7 shots back in 1960. Here's Tom Watson, who has suddenly come to a halt on his charge at +4 for the tournament. 2 under for the day, however, and he's on the 16th hole. Didn't like it.
I don't think so.
Bunker, looks like. Is that in the bunker?
It looked like it, Jim.
I think so. And Tom looks like he thinks so. Watson, the British Open champion, remember that unbelievable 36 holes of golf he played head-to-head with Jack Nicklaus last year, will be going back for the British Open, of course, at the old course at St. Andrews this year, next month.
It's a good look at Tom's swing, and as I've said before, this is a swing I'm thoroughly enjoying watching. Nice full turn, good move through the ball, maybe a little bit of a pull in there. Fairway sort of, the ball is a little bit below your feet. J.C. Snead's third shot, which it doesn't look as though he liked too much.
On the par 5 11th hole, well, our camera goes toward the forest.
If he's in there...
Yep. Where is that, Dow?
Yes, J.C. had a terrible lie there in the edge of the rough after playing out of the bunker, and now has put it to the right of the green. It looks like it's in some very heavy rough, and he'll be coming downhill, so he has an extremely difficult pitch in front of him here.
Does he have any trouble with trees or anything like that in addition to the rough?
No, he's got a clean shot into the green. He's just about 7 or 8 yards off the putting surface, but the grass is extremely heavy, and he will be coming downhill.
Now here is leader Andy North on this same hole, the 11th hole, where we've been watching Snead and Stockton. He's just about to tee off. Nicklaus has parred 13. Jack remains at +3. 4 shots behind. Don't quite scratch him out yet.
Andy, if you're going to win, let's hit a good drive here.
How's it look?
Well, I believe it's way left.
That's what it looked like
And
to
it
us.
is really left.
Oh, boy. Now it begins to qualify as real trouble. The swing that was so reliable for Andy North seems, from our vantage point, Bob, to definitely be having problems. Can you spot any change in his swing or in his attitude?
Well, I just think that it's the National Open. It's he's trying to make pars, and perhaps he's lost his aggressiveness. He seemed to be very aggressive at the start, hit a lot of good crisp shots, but I don't know now. I don't think he played too smart a shot at 10, as Dave said. If anything, you want to put it in the left-hand bunker at 10, not the right-hand one.
Seems to me we've seen so many times when people have a good lead, particularly in the U.S. Open or the British Open, they begin to play what people call defensively, and that's almost impossible in golf. Here's Watson's bunker shot up on 16, a good one.
Well played.
Okay, well, Tom at +4 is going to have to make a great effort on 17 and 18. J.C. Snead now with this trouble shot coming down to the 11th green.
That's downhill there, Jim, and just, again, nothing you could do with it. That's as good a shot as he could play.
Okay.
Unless you hit the flag.
Playing with him, however, Dave Stockton, the former PGA champion, is on this green in 2. Remember that. That lead could be getting much narrower very shortly. Andy North in trouble on the 10th. Stockton on the green in 2 on the par 5 11th. And just a while ago, it was a 5-shot lead.
Well, Dave could move into second all by himself with 2 putts now. Knowing this little rascal, he believes he can putt, and he's one of the few guys on the tour that'll say, yes, I can putt. You know, everybody, oh, I never make a thing right.
Yeah, let's be specific. If he knocks this in the hole, he goes to even par. Should Andy North bogey 10, he goes to even par. The lead would have disappeared. There you see the board. J.C. Snead at +2, but he's in trouble in this hole. Gary Player in +3 is not moving. Jack Nicklaus is holding, in a holding pattern. Watson lost one, unfortunately, at 15. in much better condition. Stockton made, what was it, about a 15-footer, as I remember, at Congressional to win the PGA?
Yes, he did, with Raymond Floyd and Don January waiting for a playoff.
There's the eagle attempt. No, now the birdie's going to be a little bit tougher, however. Certainly within reason.
It's the way he putts. He's an aggressive, sure of himself. Trusts his stroke, which is what you have to do under pressure. Trust all the practices you put into this game is going to pay off.
He's won 11 tournaments in his lifetime on the tour. He went out there in 1965, 13 years ago. But his last win was the PGA Congressional. He's almost certain, by the way, to go over $1 million in lifetime earnings here. He's won $992,000. Tom Watson for a par at 16. Remember, he was bunkered on his second, had a fine bunker shot, and now makes a par. Remaining to him are two very difficult holes that we'll discuss because he got an opportunity possibly on 17. Here's J.C. Snead now. Fifth shot. Needs this for the par. Nope, something bothered him. Can you tell what it was?
Well, it might be the gallery coming down from Player and Dow. Do you know what bothered JC there?
I'm sorry, I'm a little bit ahead of you here.
You generally are, Dow.
Maybe
it's got to be the gallery coming down with the group behind them, Player and Andy North.
The gallery getting a little bit ahead of themselves, too. Well, now he'll attempt the bogey 5, or the par 5, I should say, excuse me.
Hit it.
Just enough. A par 5 that keeps J.C. Snead in contention for the U.S. Open Championship at +2 for the tournament. 1 over on today's round. Hale Irwin for a birdie up ahead on the course on the 15th hole. He's at +4 for the tournament. Still 1 under on today's round. Trying to get back in it. He just could. No.
It's the same putt he had at 14. Now, he missed that one to the left and that one to the right. Now, that's no wonder you shake your head, Hale. I'm with you.
This for the birdie now for Dave Stockton that will put him at 1 over for the tournament and, more important, only 2 shots out of the lead. The wind seems to be coming down at 18. Someone mentioned that it was coming down on the golf course a while ago. What's that going to do there?
Little left to right.
Ooh, yeah. Birdie.
Center.
Stockton is only 2 behind.
I tell you, he's a very tough competitor. He hasn't been playing well for I don't know how long now, but don't let him get near that lead. He's a winner when he gets close.
He's been very steady in this tournament. He had even par round of 71 on the first day, then 73, then 1 under 70. The 4th round of the 78th U.S. Open is being brought to you by AMF. We make Roadmaster bicycles and mopeds, Sunfish sailboats, head tennis rackets, skis, and sportswear. AMF makes weekends. By Georgia Pacific, the growth company. By MasterCharge. When you carry MasterCharge, you carry clout. The #1 card used by more people in more places to buy more things than any other card in the world. And by Westinghouse and the 140,000 Westinghouse employees worldwide. The Rockies stand impassive as all the other eyes in this area focus on the Cherry Hills Country Club in Englewood, Colorado, very close really to downtown Denver. Mile-high altitude, the ball flies further, but the tension winds just as tight when you get to the final round of the Open. Andy North had a big lead here. I believe it was 5 shots at one point. I'm sure it was. And now it's down to 2. It could be down to 1 very shortly, depending on what Andy does. There you see the others. Tom Weiskopf had 68 today, by the way. Tom Kite hanging in there. Ballesteros has fallen back today. Lost 3 shots to par so far, but he's got a long way to go. 7 holes yet.
Well, he made bogey at 11, which as a hole for him is nothing but just a long par 4.
Here's Jack Nicklaus on the 14th hole with his 3rd shot on this par 4. He's been scrambling all over the place and still isn't out of it.
He's been in the rough all day, and eventually he's going to catch you unless you put the ball in the fairway, though.
Changing clubs, never a sign of full confidence, is it?
That's right, but if you're undecided, you better. He's a man that'll make his mind up before he hits it, though.
Yeah. Nicklaus, winner of 16 major championships. He's finished 2nd in 15. had more subpar rounds in the U.S. Open than anybody else. He achieved that when he shot 69 on Friday. Hold. Long way from the flagstick with that third shot on the par 4 hold. So Nicklaus is not looking like a winner at this point. Andy North now on the 11th hole. What is the situation out there? Bob Rosberg?
Second shot, Jim. He's got it right down in front of the green in the rough.
Okay, he had a good second shot. Remember, he was in trouble on his tee shot. This is his third shot on the par 5. Well,
it's a good angle to come in from, though. He's pitching up against the hill.
Okay.
Played a beautiful shot.
Or did he? Let's see, where is it? There it is, there. Couldn't see it coming up, Bob, for a minute. Lovely shot. Now he's got a chance at a birdie instead of the bogey that a minute or two ago it looked like he might make here. Andy North, 28 years old, winner of the Westchester Classic last year. It's the only tournament he has won since he came on tour in 1973. However, this year, we weren't watching him quite closely enough in the weeks just before this tournament, Dave. You know, he's 10th leading money winner of the year. He tied for second in the last tournament he played, which is at Memphis. He's having by far his best year money-wise since he came on the tour. So it's not just a bolt from the blue quite that he's leading here.
Same thing with Andy Bean. If you watch each year just prior to the Open, of course you can always have your Nicklauses and Players and Trevinos who you know are going to play well, but it's the guys that are playing the tour more or less full time that are playing well to look for in the Open, as we see J.C. Snead at 12.
203-yard par 3. Very much a contender now. 3 shots behind. Okay. Ooh, lived a little dangerously with that when he made it.
It's time to start trying to shoot at the flags. You're back in the field. You've got to do that. He could have gotten a little bit better bounce than he did.
Gary Player on the 11th hole with Andy North. Ooh!
Great shot, though.
Certainly was.
Bad angle coming from there because the hill again is right to left, and you've got to carry it far enough to carry either in the short fringe or on the green.
Gary Player had the hopes today that every man who wins the Masters every year has at least some hope of making that Grand Slam of golf. Does not look like he's going to do it. Player now 4 shots out of the lead, and once again, we just keep forgetting how many holes there are to go. A lot of things can happen.
There's a lot of work to be completed.
It certainly is, but Andy North saved himself a big problem on this hole with fine second and third shots after a bad tee shot. Gary Player also 1 and 3, however.
And he's still just +3, and he really is due to make a putt. He has hit the ball a lot of good shots, and the shots that he hasn't hit as well, he's hit a lot of good putts that have just gone by the edge or just a little short.
Giving the situation again, it's North by 2 over Stockton, by 3 over Snead, by 4 over Gary Player and Jack Nicklaus, by 5 over Watson, Irwin, and Weisskopf, who has finished his round with 68.
Now, of the 2 putts, even though Gary is a little farther away from the hole, he's putting up the hill. Putt you can be a little bolder with than the one that Andy has.
Andy now deep in his own thoughts rather than Gary's putt. Well, he's had a lot of those, hasn't he?
That's another one. It's just a little too hard, or he played a little too much break.
First prize, by the way, it's interesting. You almost forget to mention what first prize is in the U.S. Open because the championship itself is everything. But it is $45,000. Total prize money will be about $300,000. If you didn't make the cut, you get $600, which you ought to pay your way here. I don't know about the hotel bill. Okay, a par 5 for Gary Player on the 11th hole. North will now have a chance for a birdie to go 2 under par again, which is the way he started yesterday and the way he started today. Now, on the 17th hole, this is a par 5 with an island green. However, if you hit the ball far enough with your tee shot, you can, if you wish, go for the green in 2. Tom Watson's going to try it. That's what we were trying to begin to talk about a while ago, and we had to go elsewhere. He has a chance to get on this green in 2. Should he make eagle here? And there is the shot, going for the green, to the island green. Can he get across? And then can he hold? Where is it? Beside the tree is the first word we get. Could be in the water. Let's Back to Andy North. We've got to see this. This is for the birdie. Trying to get word on Watson's. Meanwhile, he's got it. Andy North will not shake. He gets one back and goes to 2 under par again. He has a 3-shot lead. Watson is not in the water, however. Watson not in the water with his second shot on 17, the par 5. Where is he? Well, there may still be some question about that. The USGA official was down there very close to the water, the man walking over the bridge. Now here's Nicklaus. Nicklaus for par?
No, for 5.
For 5.
Bogey 5 at 14.
That's right. We saw him before.
Right.
Dave Stockton with a birdie try now. Oh, my goodness.
Good roll.
As you say, he does not plan to leave any of them short.
Oh, he's a wonderful putter and very confident, as I've said a number of times. Jim, if you look back, if Andy North does in fact win the tournament, what a turning point there after 3 straight bogeys to hit a bad drive and then hit a good second, a good third, and make that little putt. I'm sure it looked longer to Andy than it did to me. But that may be just what he needs.
Well, if he had bogeyed there, the lead would have been 1 shot. He birdied, and it's 3. Again, North still has 7 holes to play. Now, we're back to 17, where the final word comes that Tom Watson was, in fact, in the edge of the water. So it'll be a drop in front of the creek here. So it looks like his last bid to try to win the Open this year has probably gone with that. Now J.C. Snead with his second shot on the par 3 12th hole. Remember, he just about got across the water going for the flagstick. But he's certainly got a chance here to move back into a tie with Dave Stockton for second place and stay in the hunt. No. The par 3 will keep him at +2 for the tournament and 1 over for the day.
Jim, Watson's attempt to go for the green at 17 and 2 points out what you said earlier about the prize is not so much the money, it's the winning of the tournament. I'm sure that if Tom in that same position in a regular tournament would have laid up, because the chances are you're not going to be able to knock it across there in 2 today. Percentage is so much against you.
Dave Stockton now back to Watson, hitting his 4th shot now, having taken a penalty stroke on the par 5 hole. And he's left himself a reasonable chance of making 5 there. This for a par, as we said, for Stockton. If you've just joined us again, the day began with Andy North 2 under par. He's still there, but he's got a 3-shot lead now instead of a 2-shot lead that he had at the beginning of the day. Stockton has been hanging in there with him more tenaciously than anybody else, and that's why he's in second place right now. Stockton is even par for the day. Jack Nicklaus now on the 15th hole.
This tee is up so high and you're shooting down. I always found that was very hard, number one, to get lined up correctly, plus the wind gusting makes this a very difficult hole, though they usually play, say, 3, 4, 5 irons into it.
It's a par 3 hole, which today is playing at 190 yards. Oh, my goodness.
He won't give up until he's finished, no matter what he shoots.
All right, he has 4 holes left. Suppose he makes a birdie here. 16, not a probable birdie, but possible. 17, the big challenge could come up again. And then 18, you just do your very, very best.
That's right. Well, if he's going to have any kind of chance, of course, Andy has to make some mistakes.
Now let's have a look at Gary Player. Player on the 12th hole, 203 yards,
Hurry,
par
baby,
3.
hurry.
He says,
Hurry, I banded, Rabbit.
hurry, he says.
You could hear him say, I fanned rabbit, so he must not have hit it very solid.
There we are, right on the edge. Just off the edge of the front of the green on 12. Now Tom Watson for the 5. No. And it would seem that you could cross Tom off now. He made a valiant effort here, birdieing the first 3 holes today, shooting 32 going out. Now Andy North, the leader, on the 12th hole. See if he's regained momentum with that birdie. He's talking to it. He doesn't like it.
Oh.
There it is, off the right back of the green. So he'll have a good thinking process to make par. We'll be right back.
That's how they stand as we come into the closing holes of this year's United States Open Golf Championship. Tom Watson driving at the 18th. Beautiful shot. Right in the fairway. Watson, who started out with so much promise and then fell foul of some of these great holes at Cherry Hills. Back to the 12th. Player, short of the green, long chip and run, keeping the ball very close to the surface. Oh, he's not too pleased with that, and so he shouldn't be. 20 feet away, his great dream of the modern professional Grand Slam fading before his very eyes. Had a lot of calls and letters in from people asking about the Grand Slam. Of course, many think that the only real Grand Slam will never be done again. It was, of course, done by the great amateur, the American Bobby Jones, winning both the British amateur and the American amateur titles and the championships in the same year. I don't think that'll ever be done again. Here's North's chip and run, also coming down, very smoothly done indeed. He's collecting himself together again, and Dave and Jim made the point that it doesn't matter how many strokes you are ahead in an event like this, you have to battle with yourself. It's a continual battle with your own thoughts, part of the magic of the game. No one to beat but yourselves. Nobody in this field can directly influence anything another player does. You only battle with yourself. Nobody can stop the ball going in the net. Nobody can tackle. Nobody can catch. It's up to you. You're your own friend and your own enemy. Snead now second to the 13th. Only 382 yards. Oh dear. Well, that's in the bunker, Dow, and we haven't seen many balls pitch and plug, but that looks as if it really has.
Well, I think it came out of the pitch mark. I'm going down to look now. J.C. had laid back quite a ways. He had almost 175 yards to the flag on this relatively short 4-par.
Well, Dave Stockton, I mean, there you get a superb view of where this flag is positioned today, and there's not an awful lot of room. You can see how the flag is blowing, the wind gusting across. This man Stockton, a tremendous competitor. Yes, a chance again, just backed up a little bit. Perhaps if it had gone forward a bit more, would have been better now. Player must, one feels, hold this. He hasn't held any today. And that's not going in either. He's had a good run at them, but it's not been. 16th, Nicklaus.
There it comes. Good job,
Player for a 4, the par 3. And in. Stroke dropped, though, by Player at the 12th. No, you can tell from the look on his face that he sees his dreams disappearing, but that doesn't stop this man from battling away. All these putts are so important. Nicklaus had a great chance for a 2 at the 15th, which he didn't get. And his chances are dropping away now. This young man with this very individual putting style, fingers all wrapped round like lattice fencing, right down the grip. This for his par. He really has rolled those in so smoothly. Remains 2 under and the leader by 3. That's how they all are at the moment. Tom Watson with a superb round, and looking through all the scores over the last 4 days, the best 2 nines, total 64. Mac McLennan had a 31 the first 9, and Tom Weiskopf has just done a 33. So 64 is the best these players have managed on this course between them. Watson second to the 18th. Looks a fine shot. Brilliant shot. If it bites in, it does. And he's got that now familiar putt, downhill, swinging left to right for a birdie 3.
Peter?
Yes, indeed.
Thought you might like to know that Nancy Lopez has just won her 5th in a row.
Well, that's marvellous stuff as Jessie Snead comes out of the bunker from a very difficult position. And it looks as if Jessie, unless he gets a good putt in, is going to drop a stroke here at the 13th. The dreaded 13th, unlucky for some. And just look at that splendid view. That's the 18th with its sloping fairway from right to left. Superb colouring of the lake and the trees. Colourful gallery. And a very determined Dave Stockton. Just 1 over par. Well, I've seen him hole many longer than this. Mind you, I've seen him miss a few shorter. One of the few players that never has a practice swing with a putter, just steps up. You almost feel does it by numbers. 1, 2, 3, bang, and just left it, as you saw, 6 inches short of the hole. Must be a marvellous feeling to be cross with yourself for leaving a 25-foot putt 6 inches short of the hole. Great stuff. There's Stockton, 3 behind, as we listen to the warm applause for Tom Watson from this great gallery gathered round the 18th green. Watson, who started the day with 3 birdies, out in 32, birdied the 11th, everything going along very well, then dropped 3 strokes in 6 holes. Now Jack Nicklaus, 16th. Oh, and another superb shot, and he was closer than that on the previous hole and didn't hole it. Can he do it this time? This game is one of ifs and buts and might have beens. Snead, the 13th. It's for a par. He's holed a lot of good putts. Really is quite staggering, the amount of putts this man's holed. Don't go far away. Listen to these words and be back with us.
Tom Watson on the final hole of the 78th U.S. Open from Cherry Hills in Colorado. Rolling his putt past the hole and well past. He'll need that for par to finish play in the tournament. Likeable youngster out of the middle of the country, went to school at Stanford. Great player. And in his time, I'm sure he will be recognized as one of the fine craftsmen in his profession. He needs this for par on the final hole. Gambled on 17, lost the gamble, and that really removed him from any hopes that he does shoot a fine round of 70 today. Now let's go back to Gary Player, who has struggled through this day. Gary Player, who has burned the hole so many times with his putts. And another groan grows up from the crowd as his second shot on the 13th hole ends in an unlikely place. Andy North, who righted himself after successive bogeys at 8, 9, and 10 to make birdie at 11, and he continues to lead by 3 shots now over David Stockton. Second shot on 13 for Andy North.
Those are the kind of shots, Keith, that you know a man's going to win the golf tournament.
And the kind of shot that Gary Player hit takes away hope, doesn't it, Bob? Just no luck there. But on the other hand, Andy North has had a goodly amount of luck today where he has been teetering, but each time has righted himself and come back. And so the big long-legged fellow from the University of Florida and native son of Wisconsin, a young man who had some leg trouble at one time, bone in his knee stopped growing when he was a youngster in the 7th grade in Madison, Wisconsin. He was on crutches for 18 months, but here he is. Jack Nicklaus on videotape on 16 just a moment ago, trying for a birdie, and again from a relatively short distance, could not make it as the putt was short and swung away from the hole, and Jack leaves 16 with a par 4. And Jack remains at +4 for the tournament. And back we go to 13 now as Gary Player on the desert with his second shot. His playing companion Andy North, the leader, is safely on the putting green. And it is Dave Stockton who looms most clearly on the distant horizon for Andy North. But I'm sure Andy is trying now, realizing now, knowing full well that from here to the clubhouse, more so than ever, it's just he and thee. Player will come out of the sand, not much room to work with. Good as anybody I've ever seen coming out of the bunker. Hale Irwin, birdie 17 to go 3 over for the tournament. Now he stands on the tee at 18 and obviously will take a wooden club and carry it over the pretty lake toward the clubhouse.
Get on the ground. Get on the ground.
To the right, it's in the rough. Won't kick back and hangs in the short rough on the upper side of this rather sharply sloping fairway. A very, very hard finishing hole. Must seem like 8 miles when you've had a hard day. Danny Little Red Lopez against Prieto, Muhammad Ali in Russia, World Water Skiing Championships. That's what you'll see on ABC's Wide World of Sports, 5 Eastern and Pacific, 4 Central Time next Saturday. On the 13th hole here at Cherry Hills in Englewood, Colorado, Andy North with a birdie try. He at one time was 4 under for the tournament. He is now 3 under for the tournament. He again leads by 4. You must admire him because he has righted himself so admirably after some moments of travail. Second shot, J.C. Sneed on the difficult 14th hole, coming downhill, long iron, beautiful hole, hard to play. Oh, not when you can hit it like that, huh, Doc Finstowall?
Well, sir, that was certainly a great shot played in there by J.C. He was back there about 218 yards or so.
When David Stockton had hit his tee ball, he was mumbling some about having hit perhaps his divot from yesterday. What did he do on his second shot,
Well, I think David was gambling. He felt like he needed a 4. He took a wood club from what looked like a pretty difficult lie back there, and he was unable to get it up. He now is at the top of the hill in the left rough.
All right, meantime, on 13, Gary Player has made his par, but Andy North has made birdie. And he leads by 4. He's 3 under. Another look at the birdie putt. Well, Bob Rosberg, you've been walking with him if you are in a position where we can talk to you, but I suspect we'll have another whole new fad of hunched over putters sweeping the country here if they can putt like Andy North has been hitting it today.
Well, he putted beautifully, Keith, but as we talked about yesterday, and it's happened every time today, it just seems that when he knocks the ball in the rough, he comes up with a good lie, a lie that you can possibly get the ball to the green. And it's happened time after time after time. He made a birdie with 2 balls in the rough at 11. He just made birdie at 13 from out of the rough, and that just doesn't happen unless you're destined to win the Open.
All right, Dave Stockton's third shot on the 14th. He's hollering at it. He gets a big, ugly bounce, and it's going to run across the green and over the hump and back into the rough. And we might see the demise of Dave Stockton as a serious challenger right here on 14, because he now lies 3. He is still in the long grass and some distance away from the putting surface and from the pin. And Andy North is standing back on the 14th tee. Drive it up over the hill. Depending on the wind, direction, and velocity, it can go anywhere from 5 all the way down to a 2-iron to get it home. But with this big, strong fellow, I suspect he won't have to hit anything near a 2-iron. But you never know. Too much, he said.
live ball.
Ball's in the left-hand rough, Keith.
It is very, very hard to get it home from there, because as you look up the fairway, it's not that long either, as a matter of fact. But he's got to go around a tree or over a tree, and if you miss the green short, you can really buy the bundle. Gary Player now.
And this ball's perfect, right down the middle of the fairway, but not very long. He's going to have a long second shot left.
Well, it is not inconceivable that Gary Player could be going to 1, 2, or a 3, depending again on the wind. But let's go back for the moment to 18 and Hale Irwin. The Buffalo defensive back in the younger days before he took to the tour. I remember several years ago when Hale Irwin was winless on the tour in the Los Angeles Open. He had the tournament almost in hand. Cold dead shanked a 7-iron into the green on the final hole, lost a playoff to Billy Casper on the first playoff hole. But he eventually got his first win and has gone on to become one of the greats of his era. Second shot on 18. Bunker. So he's bunkered on 18. Some green to work with, however, as he will have to come out of the bunker. Let's go back now to 14 as Dave Stockton chips up. Beautiful shot. Drive to the right, hacked it back across, over. He's back on. He lies 4, and we'll be back with more from Cherry Hills in a moment.
We're back at the U.S. Open. This is J.C. Snead a moment ago with a birdie attempt on the 14th. And it was that close. He didn't make it. We'll have to tell you that because you were blocked. There it is. So a par for J.C. Snead keeps him at 2 over for the tournament, 5 shots behind the leader, Andy North, tied with Dave Stockton for second place. Hale Irwin has now moved into 4th place, but he's in trouble on the 18th hole. He's having a very good round today, though, 2 under par. And here is Irwin with his 3rd shot on the 18th. The finisher here.
Good round today, Jim. He's 2 under.
Yeah, he led the first day with 69, but then he went 74, 75. Coming back today, and if he can get down in 2 from here, I'll have another 69. Well, he's going to have a chance at it anyway. Hale Irwin receiving a fine reception by the people from his home state. This was a moment ago when he walked up on the green. You know, a great thing about golf, Dave, you almost never hear a negative sound from the crowd. They're always for somebody. There's never any booing. There's never any, hey, miss it.
Very rarely does that happen, and that's usually an isolated.
Andy North, what's the situation, Bob?
Well, he took a shot at the green. He pulled it. And I believe that well, I don't know. It kicked way right, hit the tree. It would have gone right in the water and jumped way to the right into the rough. I just can't believe that he took a shot at the green from the lie he had. You know, with a 5-shot lead, he could have taken a wedge and knocked it out here in the fairway and pitched it up. He got a tremendous break again.
Well, let's go back to J.C. Snead. I guess the phrase is, it isn't over yet. Ooh, he didn't like that at all. So him drop the club. Where did that go?
He's going to be on the green, Dave. He's coming away.
Why was he so upset?
I've been pretty happy with that one myself.
The U.S. Open, I guess the club can drop out of your head at any moment.
That was a little odd. Usually when a player reacts that way, he's missed it badly.
Okay. 15th hole, remember, is playing at 190 yards today. They moved the tee up. It was the very difficult pin placement and the situation of the wind.
Little play all in one, Nanny, because it's against the wind. Does that look any good, Dow?
Yes, this looks very good. Pitched right at the hole. It's a little strong, but it's on there nicely.
Well, they'll each have attempts at least at birdies on the 15th. The two men who are chasing Andy North, who suddenly and rather unaccountably has gotten into trouble. Now, Hale Irwin at 18. He needs this for a par in a round of 69 today. He had 69 on opening day, remember, 74, 75 in between.
Didn't hit it.
So it'll be a bogey 5 for a round of 70, a fine round of 1 under par for Hale Irwin, playing in the wind today. The former U.S. Open champion at Winged Foot would not win this year. But he comes in with a subpar round. He had 2 subpar rounds out of 4. It was the rounds in between that did him in. Nicklaus for a birdie on the 17th, the par 5 hole. Jack Nicklaus is 4 over par. He's 7 behind. So it would seem he's playing up the string. What's happened to Andy North, and with all that space between him and the 18th green. Ooh, yeah. All right, bring him back to +3 again. Jack started the day at +3. He's +3 again, even par for the day. Now, Andy North. All right, he keeps coming back at you, doesn't he? On the green on the 14th hole.
He's performing one miracle after another here.
Yes, yes, he is. Andy North from the north, from Madison, Wisconsin. 28-year-old touring golf professional, winner of 1 tournament, remember, since he came on tour in 1973. There he is with a 5-shot lead over Stockton and J.C. Snead, 6 over Nicklaus, 7 over Hale Irwin, who's just finished, and Gary Player, who is playing with him. Then you have Weiskopf, who shot 68 today. Tom Watson, who birdied the first 3 holes, but couldn't hold on to that charge and ended up at +5, as around a 70 for him today. Bill Kratzert's played well here, Andy Bean, and the rest. Now back to Gary Player again. On the 14th hole. You hear the still cameras clicking. Still throwing that ball right at the hole every time. But the figures still say +4. He started the day -1. He's 5 over on today's round. He lost 4 of those on the front side, shooting 39. At age 42, it looks like the bid for the Grand Slam is in major trouble. We told you earlier that Nancy Lopez had won her 5th tournament in a row today, but she was 3 shots behind going to the last round. She shot 69 today and won by 2 over Jeannie Blaylock and Debbie Massey, the former fine amateur golfer, as Nancy Lopez herself was. Coming up later this summer, of course, in the month of July, the U.S. Women's Open from the Country Club of Indianapolis. That should really be something this year with Nancy. We hope that before this afternoon is over, we might have a video report on Nancy's victory for you. We're not sure of that yet, but if we can do it, we'd like to do it before we finish our coverage of the U.S. Open. Nancy, by winning, sets an all-time earnings record for a rookie, male or female. Can you imagine that? Beat Jerry Pate's old record.
About 5 straight tournaments.
That's right. Okay, now Andy North, the leader in the U.S. Open. Can he do what he's been doing for the last 3-4 days? Yet again, make a par here under pressure? Well, here's Dave Stockton on the right, one of the 2 men within some reaching distance of Andy North. Dave Stockton knocking it in for a birdie. going to +1 for the tournament. He's 4 shots behind North. He's down 3 shots behind North. Just that quickly. The lead has gone from 5 to 3. And every time we start to indicate something about North might be wrapping it up, Dave Marr, sitting next to me, has shaken his head negatively.
Well, it's just these holes are so difficult. And JC now has a putt, almost the same putt that Dave just had for a birdie, and could put him within 3 shots.
That's exactly right.
And Andy has to play this 15th hole, obviously. That's cute to say. But it's a very good par 3, and right into the wind. You got 16, super golf hole, 17, disaster all around the green, and 18, I don't know how you play 18.
16, anything left, it's going to give you a big problem, right?
All right.
Or
Either
right.
side.
Okay,
Now, JC ought to have a very good idea, because Dave's ball was only a couple of feet from his.
He's been very consistent. He opened with a 1 under par round of 70, then he's had 72, 72, and on today's round he's 1 over par. Hey.
Now, that's a good move, though. That's because it's so gusty. The wind is blowing so much. If you've noticed, Dave Stockton does the same things. He'll play his long shots wearing his cap, but when it gets up to putt, he'll take it off. Maybe JC's going to follow Dave's instruction there.
I don't remember him doing it before. Have you ever seen what
Yes, I
JC
have.
Snead really looks like?
Yeah, yes, I have. Once he took his head off and it hit the ball. He missed it to the right.
For birdie. Nope, nope. So at this point, it looks like Stockton is the man with the chance at Andy North. All the greats have had their shot here today, remember? Nicklaus and Player and Tom Watson and Weisskopf charging belatedly, as did Watson. But still, it is 3 extremely competent touring professionals who are fighting it out right now. Andy North at age 28, Stockton is mid-30s, JC Snead 36 years old. Okay, JC, there's a good look at what he looks like without his hat.
All right.
Jack Nicklaus on the 18th tee, 480 yards long, par 4. That's what they say. And the wind at the back today, it has not been as difficult to reach. However, the scores have not been any better. There's only been, how many birdies so far today on the 18th? 1. Jack Nicklaus has put it in the rough. Andy Bean going for the green, it looks like, in 2 on 17.
With an iron? Must have hit a very large drive there.
No, no. No, that sounded unlikely, didn't it?
Well, he's a strong player, but I just don't know whether he could get there. Well,
we have tentative word that it's in the water, which would indicate he did go for it. Or is it in that grass over there? It's very much like Watson's shot.
He looks as though he's hole high, just in the tall grass to the left. Or that grass there is really tall.
Well, Andy Bean, remember, has won the last 2 tournaments in a row. He's at 4 over par right now, and obviously would have to pick up at least 2 here to have a shot at it.
284 looms large. We were talking to Bob Rosberg driving out this morning. As soon as we saw how windy it was, we thought 284 would be a very nice score to post.
Well, that's what the winning score was here in 1938 when Ralph Gouldall won it, when the first U.S. Open west of the Mississippi was played here. In 1960, Arnold Palmer shot 280. Dave Stockton now on the 16th hole, 419 yards, par 4. This is the one where a man named Ray Ainsley, on an ill-fated day in 1938, made 19 strokes, the highest score ever recorded on one hole. There is a look at it, Dave.
Well, you wonder how you may do that. It's a dog leg to the right, but I understand he got in that little creek there, and it doesn't look very deep. It's very clear Rocky Mountain water, and he decided he was going to play out of that creek.
Well, also, it's running water. The ball moves when it gets in there.
Well, I believe that's the only time you can hit a ball that's moving is when it's in running water. Of course,
you can hit it if you're
19 times later, you wish you hadn't have.
Okay, Dave Stockton now on 16. He still has a chance to win the U.S. Open.
Good drive.
What about Al Finsterwald? Okay. Well, it certainly appears to be.
That's perfect.
Yeah, he's going to have a good shot at it. Now Andy North on the 15th. This is the par 3 hole where Stockton just made a birdie to get back into the thick of it. And remember now that North is coming off a bogey.
Just pull yourself together, Jim, and just make a good swing. Just do what he's been doing all week.
Yep.
See if Rossi can see where this goes as soon as it leaves the club.
Got it, Ross?
Yes, he made a good swing at it, right on the flag. Ooh.
Oh, no.
Just hit the
Bunker.
right fringe and went in the bunker.
Bunker is correct. The leader is now in trouble again. Stay with us. It's all live in the U.S. Open.
'18th hole, Jack Nicklaus finishing up at the 18th. It's his third shot. And a beautiful shot, but as you can see, he didn't stop and goes over the back of the green. Nicklaus, who has been in the rough so many times today, holed a couple of putts, missed a couple of putts. Now, this was Andy North at the 15th, this very difficult par 3 hole. It's a good swing, keeps his head nice and steady, big wide arc. There's a good position, head down. Perhaps got his head up a fraction early, but put it in the right-hand bunker. Now, live player from that very thickish rough, chops one up, can only get it 16 or 18 feet away. Back to the 18th for yet another tumultuous welcome to Jack Nicklaus. Still looks happy. Must be a little disappointed, but back to Andy North. Out of the bunker at 15. Puts him up. Oh dear. Bob Rosberg.
He hit too far behind it, Peter, it looked like, huh? Just caught too much of the sand and left it there.
Well, just trying to be too careful, I suppose. He's left himself a very difficult shot now up the face. I was about to say that he was playing the type of golf that perhaps Walter Hagen might have produced years ago. A lot of shots all over the course and holing putts, but my word, he really is making the ulcers nibble a bit. Just look, he's plopped it in the face. He's there for 2. He's out for 3. It didn't look to be too difficult a shot the first time around. Dave Stockton, 16th. And Stockton's on the green. And my word, it's not over yet. Stockton just 3 shots behind North. North having all sorts of problems at the 15th. Stockton on the green at 16. This is the 18th. Jack Nicklaus finishing up his round. Nicklaus level for the day. You see the old trusty putter. Now that's got to turn a lot and quickly, and it doesn't. Slightly clumsy, sir. It's gone 10 or 12 feet past the hole. And this really has been an extraordinary challenge. Here's the young Spanish player, Severiano Ballesteros, playing with Johnny Miller, 17th hole. Second shot.
I'll tell you this, Peter, that's as good a shot as has ever been made at this tournament. That is on the green. Now, Andy Bean made it over the green, as you saw, and made his birdie eventually, but now we have Ballesteros with an opportunity to make an eagle.
Well, he's a long way from the hole, but I tell you what, I don't think I've ever seen a more exciting young. He's only 21 years of age, and nobody had heard of him until July '76. And he's just hit a drive and an iron, which online, and there he is on the 17th green. This is player for a bogey. Shot blocked by player. He turns away with his own thoughts. What might have been. I'm sure he will have a lot of thinking to do tonight about what might have been. Jack Nicklaus, this marvellous man of golf, still giving it his ultimate concentration. Even though it's not going to be his championship, it's pride of performance that counts so much with Nicklaus. No hurried putt it, get out of the way, and get away. Take your time. Do your best. Come on, Jack. No, rather timid. Back to North for a bogey 4 at the par 3. No. Double bogey 5 off what was nearly a very good tee shot. So Nicholas dropping a stroke, 2 strokes at the last hole, and North dropping 2 strokes there. And now look at that scoreboard, just 1 in it. And these last 4 holes, the flag today is positioned no more than 9 yards on any of the greens, and it's down to 6 on one occasion. So you can quite see how difficult it is to get near the flag. Dave Stockton. And so much is happening here. Andy Bean on the 18th. Turning it a little bit right to left, and it's beautifully positioned. Coming down off the slope onto the flat part of the fairway. Ideal spot. You play from there up to the green. Now that's a view of the 17th, and you can see what an island it is with the weeping willows at the back. Miller and Ballesteros. Ballesteros 7 over. Miller coming back with a couple of birdies, 6 over. Ballesteros had a double bogey 6 at the dreaded 13th, but this is for an eagle. Long way away, but he could do it. Just distracted by the crowd, probably moving round and about. But you're going to see a lot more of this young fella. Quite a remarkable climb in the world of golf. Foot short. Very comfortable birdie from Ballesteros. North. 16th. Wind gusting through the trees. How was that, Bob?
Well, he just cold topped it. It was an amazing shot, Peter. He hit it, and it didn't get 3 feet off the ground. He was very fortunate that it got out of the rough. He's about 215 yards from the green.
Snead out of the bunker. 3rd shot. And still a long way from the hole. To the 18th, Andy Bean. And there's so much hubbling and bubbling here. The excitement is tremendous. And you can see from the flag there how the wind is right behind at the 18th, right to left at the 17th. Bean, an iron from the tee, an iron for his 2nd. And bounding through the green. Stops short of the gallery. Leaves him a testing chip back into the wind. Let's have another look at Andy North's shot, and you can see when the ball goes away that it really never gets off the ground. I don't know whether he was using a driver or trying to play a left to right chop shot with a 3-wood, but you see how he came over the top of that, gets way ahead of it, and just traps it right out of the back of the club face. And you can see the ball going away. It's only, as Bob Rosberg said, no more than 18 inches off the ground. But if you're going to hit a bad one, hit them low and straight. This is Stockton, and if this goes in, won't there be a hoop in and a holler in? But it's not going to go in. But Stockton is 1 hole ahead, and if he can keep plumping away with pars, he's left himself an awkward one there. You can see there's just 1 in it. Must hold this, of course. There's North, trundling along behind. Enormous ordeal, I think. People who don't know golf don't realize the enormous pressures. It's not like any other physical game or quick movement game. It's not like tennis or boxing, football or soccer. You're alone so much of the time. Look at that. Into the hole, and it wouldn't surprise me if he doesn't steal it. The most remarkable man, and we're going to be here to see it all. So just you listen to this and get back to us.
You're looking live as Andy North prepares to hit his second shot on the 16th hole. You heard Bob Rosberg tell you just a moment ago. You're looking at Andy North and his caddy there in the picture as Andy is preparing to hit his second shot on the 16th hole. He dead topped the ball off the tee. Very poor shot, very long way away from a very difficult green. If you hit it in front, it'll hold. If you get it up in the middle of the green, it'll run on you. He is some 200 yards away from it, it appears.
And a super shot, Keith. A tremendous shot. Ooh, it caught the front bunker, though. Just didn't have enough club. It was right on the flag and went in the front bunker.
And so the moment of reckoning. Just a few seconds ago, Dave Stockton made par here, having hit a rather timid putt. Andy Bean, third shot on the 18th hole. Dave Stockton now is just one back of Andy North. Andy Bean, who has made some noise in this tournament and certainly made some noise this month. We're in a groove going to the bank, having won 2 in a row. Rolling it nicely. Gary Player, right there. You see the ball? That's Gary's second shot, so he has a very good birdie opportunity here. It's no more than 4 feet away from the hole, it appears. He was able to get the ball onto the green, and in the front part of it, the ball sits very nicely. But now it is Andy Bean with all the pressure in the world right on the back of his neck. So while Andy is walking and talking to himself, let us take a moment for a message from the United States Golf Association. Gary Player is marking his ball with a very short birdie putt. Andy Bean's second shot in the bunker, right on the edge of the bunker. Andy Bean is up on 18. That would be a bogey putt, I believe, for him. Andy North now just stepping into the edge of the bunker there at 16. He looks a bit ruffled, really, for the first time in the tournament. Coming off a double bogey, he's missed 2 shots on this hole, the 16th. The ball sits. It's a great shot. Now he must knock down what appears to be a 4-footer to save par and stay even for the tournament, and 1 shot ahead of Dave Stockton, who's playing right in front of him on 17. Now here's Andy Bean, the other Andy, who's been very prominent in this tournament, this U.S. Open. But let's go now to the 17th live for Dave Stockton's second shot. And there's no fiddling around with David, not with the kind of putter he carries. He'll lay it up and take his chances at hitting it on to the 17th. Right in the middle. Pin is tucked in pretty tightly there in next to the water on 17. But if you can get good spin on it, you can at times back it up a little bit. Though today I haven't seen that action. J.C. Snead is just in the short rough for his second shot on 17. Winding down to the final moments when it appeared for a time that Andy North might run away and hide. He, more than anything else, came back to the pack. The pack did not really catch him, with the exception of Stockton. Stockton, the only man who's made a move through the pack today. J.C. lays it up in the middle of the fairway. He's in perfect position for his third shot. Meantime, all of the attention. We'll finish up with Andy Bean first for his bogey on the final hole. And makes double bogey. And that will not please the big fellow. Now we come back to 16. This is a par putt for Andy North. I'll tell you, he's got some gizzard. When it looks like he is down for the count, he just rights himself and fights back. Now Gary Player with a birdie putt. Hard to know what the man is thinking, isn't it? Sun, bright blue sky behind him, framed behind the storyboard, in a sense, of this U.S. Open, the scoreboard. Now Gary Player for birdie 3 at 16. My goodness. Well, Vivian will get a call tonight about something about a putting stroke, I suspect. Because the putter has truly betrayed Gary today. He is now 5 back at the leader, North, and the march continues as the final twosome goes to that long par 5 17th. And we will have the leader and we will have the pursuer both playing the same hole. J.C. Snead in the red trousers and the hat. Dave Stockton in the blue. The white cap. Third shot, 17. You can see how tightly the pin is tucked into the edge of the green.
Oh, boy. He has played a shot.
I'll tell you, that rascal, when he smells something, he goes after it. He is really a tough competitor when he's around the front. Third shot for J.C. He threw that ball in there and then did back it up, so he had good spin on it. J.C.'s ball won't quite hold for him, so he's quite a long way away. But Dave Stockton has a very makeable birdie putt coming up. We'll be back following a commercial and a question and answer from the United States Golf Association about the rules of golf.
We return to the U.S. Open. This is Seve Ballesteros on the 18th hole. He had trouble here, put his tee shot in the water. That's for a 6, a double bogey 6. It brings Ballesteros in at +8 for the tournament, 6 over par, 77 on today's round. The 21-year-old Spaniard, a special invitee this year of the United States Golf Association. He's going to join the PGA Tour next January, as you can see. He's a very personable young man. No man whose native language is not English has ever won the U.S. Open, you know, Dave.
I didn't know that.
Well, the other only foreign players were Varden and Ray and Gary Player and Tony Jacklin. And here we have Johnny Miller for a par on the 18th hole. Miller started the day at +2. He's now +5. He just birdied 17. Okay. 3 over par, 74 for Johnny Miller, who, despite the fact that he couldn't quite mount the charge to win, is back in business.
I believe so. He is just really swinging well. And J.C.
Snead at the 17th hole has this putt for a birdie. He's 1 stroke behind Stockton. Do you realize he would be within a stroke of the lead, tie with Stockton, had he not missed a less than 2-foot putt yesterday on 18? Bob Rosberg, what about the tee shots down there?
Well, both Player and North have put the ball in the fairway, which is of the utmost importance because the wind is really starting to blow here now, Jim. It's coming directly out of the right, and it's a very dangerous second shot now because you definitely don't want to put the ball in the rough and try and pitch it over this moat at this juncture of the United States Open.
Not if they raise the drawbridge on that moat there.
Remember now, all the leaders playing the same hole. This for a birdie for J.C. Snead.
Break.
No. So if he makes that, he'll have a par 5, remain at +2, 2 shots off the lead with 1 hole to play. We have the same experience up here, Bob Rosberg. Up on this tower, the wind has picked up at least 10 miles an hour in the last 10 or 15 minutes. We have been told by the Weather Bureau it might gust to 40 miles an hour. It feels about, well, what you guess, 30 now. Now look at this. North can stand out there in the fairway and watch Dave Stockton putt if he so desires. I guess you couldn't help but watch him, could you?
Oh, I think he's more interested about what Dave is doing than Kathy Stockton is, believe me. It's not going to make any difference on what he's going to try to do on his second shot, Jim. He's not going to be able to go for the green or anything.
No.
Well, the decision is...
He could hit before Stockton putts. Looks like maybe that's what he's going to do.
He should, because it is his turn to play, and you should play in turn.
Okay. So Andy North hitting a second shot on this par 5 hole. Remember, there is a creek in front of the green. It is, in fact, surrounded by water. Where'd that go?
Just perfect. Right in the middle of the fairway. Beautiful iron shot.
Okay, there it is. Thank you, Bob. Andy North then steadying again, as he has so many times. Now the big, big putt for a potential birdie for Dave Stockton. So the 5 keeps him at +1 for the tournament, even par for the day. He has 1 hole left to play. He must gain a stroke somewhere in order to force a playoff. Should it occur, it will be at 18 holes tomorrow. If they were tied at the end of 18 holes, they would keep playing until there's a champion. Second shot of Gary Player. Where's it going, Bob?
Good looking shot. But just the way Gary's been going, he couldn't get it in the fairway. It went left. The wind blew it left.
Well, he laid up real close, it looked like, Bob.
Well,
might have been closer than Andy if that was his ball.
Yes, but it caught the left rough, and that's one place you don't want to be. He hit us kind of a swinging hook, and it looked like it was going to be in the fairway, Dave, but it just didn't hold.
Now, looking forward to 18, so far today, there's only been 1 birdie on 18. Only 1. There have been 35 pars, but 18 bogeys and 6 sixes.
Even though it's downwind, Jim, it is still a difficult fairway to put the ball in. And if Andy goes ahead and makes his 5 here at 17 and has a 1-stroke lead over Dave playing 18, man, to play the whole, to make a 4 here, a person deserves to be the Open champion this year.
Let's start looking at some of the scores of the other players in this year's United States Open. Every one of them honored to play in the tournament. It's pretty tough even to earn your way into the big one, the national championship. Jim Holtgreave, there's the amateur from near St. Louis. One of 2 amateurs who completed all 17 holes. Nate Starks played very well. There's Bobby Nichols. He's coming back a little bit.
So's Guy Berger.
Yep. Chichi Rodriguez in there. Tony Lozes, club professional.
From New Jersey. Thought Chichi might play well here. He's been playing well.
Gene Littler in there. Lou Graham, a former champion. Mark Hayes was in contention there until yesterday. Had terrible problems.
Really jumped up and got him. Of course, anyone that finishes 16th or better, Jim, is going to be in the Masters for next year, or they're extended an invitation. And scores get very interesting along about now. Artie McNichol, a young friend of mine, shot 291, and I think that's going to make it. I don't believe Andy has played before in Augusta. I mean, in the Masters.
15th or better, and you get an automatic invitation back here. Here's Dave Stockton teeing off on the 18th hole. Water on the left, rough and out of bounds way on the right. Is that up too high?
That's too high.
Yep.
It's going to catch that tall rough.
Didn't want to be there. Wanted to be down on the fairway to have a good shot at this green. Now the third shot by Andy North on the par 5 17th. The idea is simply to put it on the putting surface, a very small green and an island green.
Just
Hit it very long.
Well, don't you feel that's what he had to do, though, Bob?
Here's the water. So Andy North may be on his way to victory. It still isn't over.
And he's still not out of it.
Would
He's
that be
perfect where he was
Yeah,
yesterday.
Yeah. Do we have it? Good.
I guess Gary's missed as many putts today as I've seen.
Yeah, We're back again live at the United States Open Golf Championship. Jim McKay here with Dave Marr and Frank Hannigan on our 18th tower. You're looking at the 17th green, the island green of the par 5 hole. And just a moment ago, there was a wild occurrence that still could have an effect on this year's Open. J.C. Snead is 2 shots behind, and on the 18th tee, well, we're going to show it to you. So here it is. This was just about a minute ago. Watch this tee shot on the 18th. There's water on the left, and watch the ball. Remember, Snead only 2 out at this point. If the ball goes in the water, he's had it. And there it is, headed for the water. You heard him say John Brown. That means in the water. But look, it skipped. Bounced up on the fairway, and he is in near perfect position. Well, in other words, he could still tie for the Open.
He just knows where the rocks are, Jim.
Wow. You heard him say John Brown.
John Brown.
Here it is
in the
again.
grave.
Would you show me how to hit this shot, please?
Well, you hit it. You just got to carry it a little more out into the water. You can't land in the middle of that water, Jim, and get across. All right, you got to land near the edge.
Okay. There it is, splash, and the little forward spin, taking it up. I'm told there's no such thing as absolute forward spin on a golf ball, but it sure had a lot of momentum. Here's Andy North now, trying to win the U.S. Open, leader by a stroke. If he gets down in 2 here on the 17th, he'll have 1 hole to play, and will still have that lead. The man closest to him is in the rough on 18. That's Dave Stockton. J.C. Snead, though, certainly would have a possible birdie. Here it comes.
Good speed. Good putt.
Fine.
Good putt. He may be a little disappointed, but I tell you what, that's leave yourself a little 6-inch putt there so you can just tap it in. That's see, he'll mark and wait for Gary to play because he would be standing in his line.
Andy North, an old gator from the University of Florida. Hey, maybe that was the clue this week when that 3-foot alligator escaped up in Boulder 3 days ago. They haven't found it yet.
They
Maybe
treed the town, though. I never heard of people so afraid of a 3-foot alligator.
Okay, there's the situation. Again, looking at the 17th green, and the wind continuing to blow. Remember, it'll be at their back on 18, but that isn't all a good thing. A lot of second shots have gone through the green on 18 today. This is for birdie for Gary Player that would bring him back to +4 for the tournament.
And a man that is really due to make a putt. I've never seen a player of Gary's caliber not make anything all day. I don't remember him making 1 putt.
There he goes now, as Jack Nicklaus did before him on the 17th hole here. Too late. His first birdie of the day. And that brings Gary Player to +4. He's 5 over in today's round. Now, J.C. Snead with his second shot on 18. Should he get this close?
And with his hat off, too.
Okay.
That's a good-looking shot here.
Okay, North made his tap in.
Great looking
17 is a
shot.
fine shot. JC's going to have a crack at a birdie on 18. There's only been one birdie on 18 today. There have
Jim,
only
Dave?
been 11 during the tournament.
Dave has an iron. I don't know that he can reach the green from there with the iron.
No, it's straight down the middle of the fairway, though. He's down at the bottom of the hill. So he'll have to just hope to get it close enough to make 4 and then have to count on the man behind him, Andy North, making bogey here. That'll be his only chance to tie for the championship. J.C. Snead suddenly is the only man with an aggressive chance to do something. There is Stockton. He and Snead, the same age, 36. Dave, a consistent money winner for more than a decade. Andy North here, just out for 5 years on the tour. North won his first tournament last summer in Westchester, just outside New York City. Here is J.C. Snead, nephew of Sam Snead. Remember, his uncle never won the U.S. Open Championship, although he challenged for it so many times and seemed to have it all wrapped up a couple of times. And Dave Stockton, as we said, a consistent money winner for many years, but last year, one of his worst years, dropped way down on the money list. He's had a couple of droughts in his career, has Stockton, between 74 and 76 when he won the PGA, and now from 76 till now. But here's Andy North, his star very much in the ascendancy. It's been slow and steady for him. Gary Player, what do you have to say?
Just consistent for 20 years.
Tee shot on 18, water on the left, rough on the right. That looks awfully good. Ooh, yes. I had great confidence in the man by saying awfully good, but it is.
Well, it is now, and that's the place you try to hit the ball, and look at that. As Rossi pointed out, with Gary's luck today, it just did trickle into the short rough on the left.
All right, we talk about shots of a lifetime. The next 2 certainly will be the shots of a lifetime to this point for Andy North. To put that ball in the fairway and then to try to get it on the green. No sure thing at any time, let alone when the U.S. Open is almost within your hand.
Just don't go left. Whatever he does, keep the ball to the right, even if you do put it into the rough.
There it is. It's up to the right. How far to the right? No, it's in the rough. So
it is in the rough.
Yep.
In the rough.
Looked like it went down pretty deep, Bob.
Well, that rough up there is really awful. And I'll tell you, you know what you have to worry about up there is to not put it in this little neck of water down to the left. You have to get your second shot in the fairway, and that's no cinch.
All right, now let's figure this situation. J.C. Snead has a chance at a birdie. Should he make a birdie? Should Stockton get it up and down for a par? And then should North bogey? We'd have a 3-way playoff tomorrow. Isn't that right?
That's absolutely right. The possibilities.
Well, when you figure the man had a 5-stroke lead at the end of the 13th hole, things have changed. That's for the way they've been playing today. J.C. Snead is 1 over in today's round. Stockton is even on today's round. Andy North is 2 over after having been 1 under at one point. 2 under at one point for today's round.
This is one of the hardest shots in this atmosphere. When you're up a mile, you do not have really a sense. You're used to playing at sea level. This, to me, was always the hardest shot, an in-between shot with a pitching wedge. He's going downwind. It shouldn't stop too fast. Looks as though he's played a good shot.
All right, he's going to have that putt for the 4. He must make that putt to have a chance for the playoff. Dave Stockton moving toward the finish, and we'll be right back. Isn't it interesting? There's a stroke between Andy North and Dave Stockton, another stroke between Dave Stockton and J.C. Snead, and yet as all 3 of them play the final hole of the U.S. Open, it is possible that they could end up in a triple tie and play off tomorrow at 18 holes. Now, the reason for that is because Snead is on the green with a chance at a birdie, Stockton is on the green with a chance at a par. There he is. North is back in the rough, and it's distinctly possible he might have to settle for a bogey 5. Remember, however, he's the man who has made 2 nearly impossible putts on this green the last 2 days to put himself where he is.
Well, those were for birdies, though. He's
right.
In the same situation that David was a moment ago. I don't believe, Bob Rosberg, did you get a look at his lie?
Well, he has no chance of getting to the green,
Uh-huh.
David, and he's going to have to be careful, as I said before, of not putting his second shot in the rough. I would imagine he'd take a 7 or 8 iron, David, and try and put it on the upslope. I think that if you give him 5 right now, regardless of what happened out front, he might take it.
Yes, that's not a bad score.
Well, now, if this man makes this putt, he moves to +1. He ties at least with Stockton, depending upon what Stockton does with his putt. And what does he do with North? Well, that's what North is wondering. And as almost always happens in situations like this, it seems North has to stand and wait.
Plus, after this is all over, and if JC doesn't hold it, you think he might think about the 3-putt he had here yesterday at 18 from just
well, the last putt,
about 2/3 of this distance.
Well, the last one he missed was 2 feet or less. However, that could all be forgotten yet. There
He didn't hit it. He did not hit it.
So it'll be a par 4 for J.C. Snead. He comes in at +2. Now, should Stockton miss his putt, he'll be +2, which would leave North with 2 strokes, well, not really in hand, because he's lost one of them already, and in fact, by putting that ball in the deep rough, in all likelihood.
Well, make his job a little easier, though, if David should hold this, which if you had any guy in the field, much as he likes these greens, putting for you at the last hole, Jim, you could do a lot worse than have Dave Stockton do it.
This is almost the distance that he hold one to win the PGA at Congressional. It might be a couple feet shorter.
Shouldn't be much break
Pretty
here,
close
and he's
enough.
going uphill. No easy putts at this time, obviously.
Certainly not. Californian here. The wind whips his pant legs.
It's hard enough. Oh, goodness.
Could not have been much closer. Just along the left side of the hole, it actually turned right as it caught the lip. So it's a bogey 5 for Dave Stockton. He finishes at +2 along with J.C. Snead. Now it is up to Andy North. What he must do is get down in the valley, put it up on the green, and get down in 2. If he makes a 5, if he makes a bogey, he will win the U.S. Open. J.C. Snead has not hold out. This is about the length of the one he missed yesterday that Dave was talking about, believe it or not. Not this time. So for Snead, a round of 72 today, +2 for the tournament. For Dave Stockton, also a round of 72. Snead had rounds of 70, 72, 72, 72. Stockton at 71, 73, 70, and 72. And the wind is really coming up now. The flag standing out straight on the 18th green as Andy North prepares to hit this shot with what appears to be a wedge.
He pulled it.
Pulled it a little.
Look out for the water. No, it's well up here on the left side of the fairway. It's going to go to the rough. It is in the rough, but sitting up beautifully.
Well, you wonder whether you want it sitting. It's bare more than sitting up, Jim. You wonder whether he'd like a little fluffier kind of lie, because if it is down, sitting in the hard pan a little, that shot's going to come out sort of hot.
Gary Player with his second shot. His tee shot eventually trickled into the edge of the rough. That's going to be short.
No, that's right on the flag. It's going to take a big jump.
That's still a little short, Bob.
Him just going into the rough. He had a funny kind of a lie, Jim. He couldn't afford to get it way up in the air as hard as the wind was blowing. Actually, the wind knocked it down.
Okay, so Player is in the short rough. It means that Andy North will be hitting first, by the way. He will have to come across a bunker. He will have some room to work with, but with that wind blowing, Dave, it's going to be awfully difficult.
Well, he's got to pitch the ball by the hole. I would think. You don't want to leave it short there. We'll take a look at it here. He got a lot of club on that ball because he carried it past that leg, the part I was worried about. And now he's in there, and he has a shot that I'm sure everybody sitting at home has had many times, and you're just afraid of. You've got to pitch it over a trap. You know, obviously, you got to get down in 3 shots from there. You win the biggest title. Look at Dave Stockton there. That ball went a little left on him right at the hole. I know he just thought he drained it.
Well, if not for one of the little coincidences of life, this very tall, well-built young man might be a basketball player or a football player instead of a golfer. But he had that knee problem when he was 12 years old, and he had to start playing golf.
Listen to the fans.
Yeah, well, it's kind of a halfway reception right now because he hasn't quite reached the green.
They're trying to encourage him. I said before, you never hear a negative sound on the golf course.
That's right.
It's always for somebody, and right now, everybody for Andy North. The entire gallery now ringing the green. The official attendance today, 25,416. 96,973 for 4 days. The attendance would have been a great deal more than that, but it was intentionally limited so everybody would at least have a chance to see some of the play. There are the two waiters, Snead and Stockton. Snead on the right, Stockton on the left. JC looks like he'd rather keep his back to it right now.
Well,
and as is the tradition, the crowd being allowed to come in and ring the 18th green, going across the fairway. There's the way the tournament stands. Look at that, Tom Weiskopf eventually tying for 4th place. Thanks to a fine round.
Very slow start.
Shot 77 the first day, but he had 68 today to tie for low round of the tournament. Johnny Miller had one yesterday. Mike McCullough had one today.
If you ever want to get a grip on your nerves, it's right now. Take a deep breath, Andy. Just put the ball on the green. Almost certainly has to pitch the ball by the hole, and it still leaves him with his downhill putt that is so fast here.
He does not want to go through the green.
Oh, well,
with that wind with him,
Jim, are, you know, and how do you control yourself? This is a test of what's inside.
A test of a man's character. Truly, that's a... Oh, my God. Oh, my Lord, it's in the bunker.
Andy.
Dave, you're the golfer, but you're the professional. What's in your mind?
Oh, well, you want to just, you know, how could you make that mistake? I mean, if it were me, you know, you'd say to yourself, of all the things that you do not want to do at that moment, it was to leave it in that sand trap. Not to try to play too cute a shot.
You know, when I said he doesn't want to go through, I didn't want to dare say the other thing, right?
Well,
there it is.
Well, that's anybody that's ever played the game. It's a shot that people ask you so often. You know, how do you get across a trap onto the green when you really need to? And left himself a hard shot.
Gary Player now, 4 over for the tournament, and we'll have a tough putt for another 4. He's 5 over on today's round, as Gary. If he makes par, he'll have 76. But everything else is forgotten now, except for Andy North, who must now get up and down. Here it is again, Dave.
All right, he gets it back fine. Nice length there. He just didn't hit it hard enough. And
he must get up and down to win. He must put it on the green and then put it in the hole in one putt, or else there will be a playoff.
Oh, pull yourself together, Andy. Come on.
It's the wind. Again, you hear it whipping the flag on the stick. All right.
Looks good. Look at this.
Look at it. Just long enough. Oh, what a fine shot.
All right. Reminiscent of Hubert Green last year with almost the same sort of putt.
Just almost the same length.
Up the hill. If you left it. Boy, now talk about courage. And some people were talking about Andy, you know, playing with Nicklaus may affect him, playing with Player may affect him, and doggone it, he's hung in there through all sorts of good shots, bad shots, and now that 4 or 5 feet.
Now he holed, what, a 35-footer on Friday here for birdie, about a 50-footer yesterday, but now it gets down to about a 3.5-footer, would you say?
Yes,
3
I
to
sure
4
would,
feet,
and if you miss that, one that people expect you to make, they don't expect you to make 35 and 40 feet. Look at that shot. Just marvelous. If you had to leave one and it wasn't stiff, that's right where to do it.
We are told to remind you, if you tuned in for Nancy Drew, that's not Nancy. That'll be coming up after we finish the United States Open. Gary Player now for the par.
Yeah, this is a difficult putt. This Andy Bean 3-putted from this length a little while ago. It won't go to the right like so many have played it. Well, that did.
Nope, he had 1 birdie all day long, so that drops him to +5 behind Haler and Tom Weiskopf, tied with Andy Bean and Tom Watson and Bill Cratchit and Johnny Miller.
The young man is your moment of truth right here. Jim, when you get in a situation like this and there are a million things trying to run through your mind, you've got to try to force all the negative things out of your mind. Do what you do best. Make the good stroke that you've been making for 71 holes before this. We've seen him make any number of these in 4 days.
If he makes it, he wins the Open. If he misses it, it's a three-man playoff. North, Stockton, and Snead tomorrow here outside Denver. It will be at 18 holes. Of course, we would be on the air with it. If they're tied at the end of 18, or if any two are tied, they would continue until a decision. It would be 5 to 6:30 Eastern Time, but if he makes this, we all go home.
Well, go in a minute. This putt should be inside the right. See the wind? See, it's very difficult to collect yourself, feel steady, because you want to feel steady over this putt. Obviously, you hit it solid, keep it inside the right of the hole.
So disturbing is that wind. We all have dreams at times, don't we, of being in some public place where you're standing all by yourself and tens of thousands of people are staring at you. Now you walk away once, you walk away again.
Well, he just hadn't made his mind up because he asked his caddy again, are you sure? Now, if he's not sure what this putt is going to do, I don't know how much chance you have to make it. Make your mind up and hit it where you believe. Andy
North has won the United States Open. With a display of courage under pressure that we'll remember for a long time. Being congratulated by Sandy Tatum, the president of the USGA. Andy looking like he's just about able to walk at this point. And there's Stockton and Snead, who gave it such a great effort, congratulating him. Andy North, at age 28, has won the Open. And so since Jack Nicklaus won in 1972, we've had a first-time winner every year. John Miller, Hale Irwin, Lou Graham, Jerry Pate, Hubert Green, and now Andy North.
Well, I tell you, he didn't let us rest any there. It looked like he was going to coast. How about that putt? After backing off twice, you've got to think, Jim, that holy mackerel, he's not going to be able to make this.
He had rounds of 70, 70, 71, and today 74, one over par. And this is the putt that won the Open for the young man from Madison, Wisconsin.
And that's dead center, too. If you don't check his nerves, he could cut diamonds with that stroke.
Oh. When he started walking away from that thing, it was a little too much for me, almost.
Well,
there's Gary Player, another of the game's fine sportsmen, congratulating him.
Which close is it?
So it's over. Travel arrangements made through and a promotional fee paid by United Airlines. United built the largest airline in the free world, around you. Again, the winner of the 1978 U.S. Open Golf Championship is Andy North. This has been a presentation of ABC Sports, recognized around the world as the leader in sports television.